Hey, hey, hey. We back at it again for the interactive brain show. Yeah, apologies we didn't get it done last night, but we're here. We just want to keep the content going. And I think we wanted to do something a little different. You feel me? Make this like purely interactive. So if anybody who's out there listening who wants to participate or add something to the
What
conversation,
up, y'all? Done start
I will be dropping the link
them?
early and often. And yeah, y'all just hit the link and come right on in and just become part of the conversation. There's no like formal arrangement to this, but we just will be discussing all things and everything concerning the brain, whether it had to do with the brain show, whether it had to do with some other source materials you're familiar about, you know, let's do our thing. But before we continue, yes, Kent, answer to your question. We live, we snapping. Uh just wanted to shout out to the official pseudo killers that's on the panel with me. So Marcus, let them know what it is.
Yeah, peace to the panel, pseudo killers, um, to the chat. I'm grateful that we still keeping this content coming, good content. Um, Hope some people interact with us, jump on the line, talk about some of the things that they may have came across in their conversations over the past few months dealing with this 7.5 lessons about the brain, but also the subsequent conversations that came out of it. A lot of y'all left questions and things like that during our previous shows. We will be hopefully addressing some of those questions as new content, new conversations. So grateful for the opportunity. Thanks for all those who were in the chat in the panel.
Kick door Kent Low. What happening? Holla at the people real quick. You on mute, Kent. Or
Yeah, you can hear me now?
yes, sir.
Yeah, nah, I told you I'm working with this internet connection. What's happening with y'all, man? What's going on?
You
I mean, it's been
staying alive, staying
already.
alive, staying
Nah, man, I
alive.
had a I had a good time discussing this book with y'all. The shows that I was a part of, man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that we was able to take it in a different direction and really talk about things that everybody could relate to. Which is their brain. So as far as I know, I think we still gonna continue to have conversations about the brain. Uh, even after we done with this book, we done with it now, but there's a lot more to talk about. So I just appreciate being able to have that conversation with y'all, man.
Thank you. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I mean, I think the brain is an ongoing conversation, right? There are a lot of nuances. There are a lot of implications, different directions you can take that conversation in. But most importantly, I know for me, and I'll speak for me. I don't want to have to speak for everyone, but my experience with this conversation with you all is that um, I have a better understanding, a clear understanding on what the brain is actually, what its function is actually, and just how to um, utilize that part of the body better. Some of the tools that we can use to make our brain work better for us, or what we can do to make our brain work better for us and to last, right? To combat some of the ailments that can, how shall I say, plague our brain. I think one of our most important, one of the, if not the important organ in the body. But I was gonna ask you all like what part of that source material was your favorite before we get into it. But I know for me, it was definitely, when she got into the parts about how culture creates different minds, just how, each human's brains rely on other human brains, meaning how we can affect other people, right? And in their mental capacity, or how can we affect people's body budgets, whether it's good or bad. Um, and having the opportunity to speak on ACEs, acquired, adverse childhood experiences, because those things have been a part of, some of the work that I've done, and, that I think is extremely important for people to understand and have a grasp. And then also, know the tools that they can utilize if they're having issues. Um, but Chilembe, what was your favorite section of the source material, so to speak, that really, really spoke to you? Um,
Mine was the section where she talked about your brain predicts almost everything, and she gave
mm,
the story of the soldier
oh
who
yeah.
staked a little child,
Mm-hmm.
and just how that whole thing became. I would say how the environment shapes how your brain predicts, and then
Mm-hmm.
the errors that can come from it. So I think that was one of the. I don't want to say. I'll say it's one of the hardest things it was for me to accept,
Mm.
and we'll talk about later some of the implications of that.
That's what's that yeah, that was pretty dope chapter for sure. It was a lots of dopeness in the source material, but definitely. Um, Kick Dolo, what was like one of your favorite parts of this source material?
Man, you already know that the airport section, man. How the brain has them hubs.
Yeah,
And when the
yeah.
major hubs goes down, man, it kind of just explains when you look at people with brain damage. After reading that part, it helped me understand a little bit more what was going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was that when our body budgets working together, our brains working with other brains. About you lose a loved one and you wonder, or you lose a best friend, maybe not even a death. Maybe
Right.
you know just whether it be an ex or whether it be friendship that broke, or family member or whatever. You know what I'm saying? A close loved one that's no longer around, and you get that hurtful feeling because it was part of your body budget.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like this is like a thing with your brain going on there. It's not just, oh, you sad because they left. It's like, no, they was actually part of what kept you balanced.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, I think that opened up. That was some pretty interesting material right there.
I think that last part was one that where we got into the part about whether I think we kind of made a little motto out of it, like, what kind of person are you? Are you the person? You the person to add to someone's body budget? Are you the type of person to take away from it? You know what I'm saying?
and I think we do both though. I think
Yeah.
yeah, you got people that really just lean into that taken away from, but I think everybody at some point, like, and you wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
It could just be how you interact with other people or how they perceive you. You know what I'm saying? You could be one of the best people in the world, but somebody might not like the way you look or way you dress or just your
Damn.
confidence. So you
Can
might take away from their body budget just doing some positive shit,
for
being
how you
successful.
look. Ah, darn. I hope I ain't taking away from nobody body budget for how I look. That's oh boy, that's crucial.
Nah, but there's some people that that's out there. They be like, "Yo, I don't like her. I don't." Be like, "Damn, why you don't?"
Yeah,
I just don't. I don't like the way she
I
dressed.
know, right?
You got people out there like that, or don't like the way somebody face look or something. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Roger that.
um, but yeah,
Um,
man, yeah, I think, I think when we had that show, we was talking about how just be mindful of that and try to add to people's body budget throughout the day rather than take away from.
correct.
You know.
Absolutely. And I think jump in, Marcus, or take over. But the last thing I want to say, I think that's why it was important to introduce ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and understand how us as adults can be primarily affecting a child's body budget.
Oh,
Oh,
facts.
in as the children get older, particularly as parents or caregivers, and how our undiagnosed or undealt with, childhood traumas can actually, manifest at at later times in our lives while
Mm-hmm.
we are trying to raise children or be mentors or teachers or whatnot, and how that can have an effect on a child's
And
experience and their
yeah,
body
that's
budget. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
pretty big. That's pretty big when you think about how we affect kids, man. Because growing up, we didn't even understand how it affected us. How we were treated, whether it be from adults or other
Right.
children. You know what I'm saying? And um, it explains a lot of the behaviors as adults, um, based on how you got treated as a kid. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Whether you was beat all the damn time, whether your parents talked down to you all the time,
Mm-hmm.
just depending on every little thing mattered and shaped you to be who you are today. And
Mm-hmm.
like some people grow up with issues and don't even realize, like, yo, that's from when you was 4 years old and your mom never picked you up.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I
not
mean? She
laughing at it, but these are like when we're giggling, it's because of the realization. I think it's more of a personal realization because we're reminiscing. So some people take offense that we're like, "Oh, you're right," ha 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 ha. No, because that was like right in your face, like, "Yeah, buddy, that's what it is," or even
Yeah.
for yourself, that's what it's always been. I'm just saying that to the audience because I know we're kind of having this fun banter with the
Yeah.
conversation, but it is deep. But that's correct, right? That's
Yeah, like
absolute
like
facts.
like it, and then makes you look at how you treat your kids to be more conscious of what you do around them or do to them, um how you treat them and stuff like that, because once you realize, like, yo, I can shape this person, the little things I do can shape this person, to turn out negative, or mostly a negative person or mostly a positive person. Then
Mhm.
you take the steps and you research, okay, what ways do I need to go about raising my child? You know what I'm saying? I know back in the day it was like, yo, they act up, beat the hell out of them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Get that belt, get that switch. And then we find out later on, like, that might not have been.
The best thing, right.
Yeah, you might have traumatized. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? They might look at a tree and just get irritated or something. You don't even realize, like, yo, your brain looking at that switch like, yo, you don't remember, but yeah, that used to tear your ass up. No, but
Yeah,
go ahead, my bad.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, I want you to finish, and then I'm gonna add after that, and we, rush here.
Yeah, no, I was just that's all I was really saying. Just being mindful of how you treat your kids, how you talk to them. You got some people that are, hey, don't do that. Why are you mad? And we used to laugh at, we used to say, oh, that's a white people thing that they talk to their kids like,
Yeah,
"Ah, are you okay,
talk
little
about it.
Johnny? And then black parents be like, sit your ass down and shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? And we that was kind of like a thing in the black community, but we didn't realize, like, yo, we might be causing some toxic traits or
Yeah,
toxic activity up behind that.
behaviors, toxic
Yeah,
behavior,
behaviors.
and
Yeah.
stress, right? Because we talked about, you can be creating toxic behavior, amongst the younger children or the ones that you're caretaking, and you could be contributing to their toxic stress. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Um, but one of the things I wanted to add, and this to the point of view, Marcus, too, and I don't know, maybe we could do that interview here. Ain't gotta be all of us, but I think it should happen because I could understand why some people don't find interest in it, and I get it. But I also think that it leads to the point of the show and those points we've been speaking on. About how we affect other people's body budget. How maybe how we discipline our children may not be it. That may not be it. That may not be what we want to do, right? And so how do you get past that? How do you learn differently? Because I mean, that's kind of a generational curse. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say that because yes, it's been
Pass
black
it
parent
down.
after black parent, but I mean, I kind of recognized a long time ago because I can count how many times I got beat on one hand. It wasn't many, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as going through these classes and understanding, like human behavior and different things, especially when you're dealing with child development, I realized early, like in college, that that's not good. So I started advocating for it long time ago. Not even
Yeah.
knowing what to call it, but for Black people in particular, everybody does it. It's just not a Black people thing. Let's just say that too. You feel
Right,
me?
right.
Even
Well, I
white
mean, I
people
speak
get
to Black
children,
people.
but you
I know
get
what
what I
happened.
know.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you meant, Can't we? But to be 100% clear,
you're right though.
right. And so I realized then that regardless, because I mean, I done knew some white people that told me some stories. I was like, what? You sure your mama wasn't Black? Like, you for real?
Oh
But
no, you go down to that South now, man. Shit,
yeah, right.
like gonna
Don't
tear they turn ass up.
don't do it, right. Yeah. But yeah, and sometimes in the worst way. So be careful. But
Man,
we could talk about this a generational curse going back to slavery. You feel me? Because think about it. When you talk about whooping and spanking, whooping, where do you think that get it from? And why were slaves even whooped? It was for compliance. You feel me? They whooped you so you could comply, right? So you could be obedient, right? To strike a certain fear in you. And some parents actually, would use that, like I want to strike the fear in you, like the fear of God type, stuff or whatnot. But I think if the least that we can do as PK, what we always do, not only provide you with the experts that can also provide some helpful things, but also provide you with professionals that have the skills to teach and train better ways. So I'm hoping sooner or later that we can get we have he's a child advocate, and he deals with soft parenting skills, and he's pretty awesome, and he's a friend of mine, and I do want him to come on the show and speak to that point and all things about what soft parenting really is,
Yeah,
and
man, get him on.
that we spoke about.
I said, yeah, holla at him, man. Sure, we can get him on as soon as
I
possible.
mean, he waiting on us. I already put my order in.
Okay.
Yeah, he already like ready to go. You feel me? Like always, how I do it. I try to like, fill out a person if I'm interested. You feel me? And he like gone home ready to go. So I think that's something for me that's important, because I don't know how people do it in their house, and I'm not passing any judgment. But again, we're just gonna offer, solutions. I think a lot of times in the conversation, we could talk all day long, right? But if there's no solutions had or no programs of advocacy rendered, then how helpful is that, right?
Right. And some people may have never heard that. I ain't saying,
Mhm.
nobody. I'm just saying it might be one person out there like, damn, I never realized that affected kids in that way or
Yeah.
adults in that way. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's good to even mention it, just to put it out there and let it be exposed.
Hmm.
And you know how the good saying go, once not no one's have the battle and all of that.
Yeah.
Once you know better, you do better and
Joe.
all that. You know what I'm
Wait
saying?
a minute, that's not G.I. Joe. That's
Yeah, I'm tripping. I'm not crossing it up.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, no one's has the battle.
So a lot of that came out of a study in the early 1900s. It's called Baby Oliver. It's a ridiculous experiment they did with a human child.
Go ahead and talk about it for real. Get into it, Marcus.
It's crazy. So if you could just share my screen, Juju, please, if it's not too much trouble. Okay, thank you. So this is the little Albert experiment. It was a psychology experiment by John Watson. He's a behavioralist, and there's two branches of behavioralism that kind of argue with each other, right? And one is come out of the school of thought like Watson and all of them, and that's they got the idea that if I could have a child and raise them in a box, I can raise them to be anything possible. Crazy. But that's one school of thought. The other is the ethologists that believe you should study animals, all animals, in their natural environment to get a better understanding of behavior. So that's part of it. But nevertheless, this experiment with little Albert was crazy because what they did is they basically conditioned him. They would put different items around him periodically, time, and then with certain ones like the white rat, they would then bang loud noises from behind him so he was unaware. The strangest thing about it is that from this point on, they followed. Well, they didn't follow. They actually lost track of him, but later came back in contact and figured out which Albert it was. Even as an adult, he still had that traumatizing fear, and so he would be anywhere and see a rat or a mouse, and would just go straight panic. His wife would talk about it over and over, and this is called classical conditioning. So when we talk about trauma, that's actually what we're doing. We're conditioning our children to trauma. That goes with things like domestic violence, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, even down to the verbal, even your language, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse, right? We condition them to these things and then condition them based on those responses. And so this is one of the early cases of where they talk about it. And again, that's little Albert. You can look at it anytime you want to get more information on it. This is one of the areas in which ethics got involved in, so they no longer do these type of experiments. Which I think is a good thing because they literally traumatized this child just to see if they can condition them like they do dogs. So some people may argue why they're not so easy to say we're beyond. This is one of those cases where he was conditioned like they condition dogs, literally, and he had the same similar visceral response that dogs would have. So it was ethics. Here's the, you can look at this section. I'll drop the link in the chat and you can actually look at it and actually read up about it, about his life, what happened to him, and you can find out what kind of conditions he's had as he grew over. And so this is where they tell you about, in this section of the article, about how they lost track of him, then found out who he was, and then seeing that he was still conditioned on that. So there y'all go. I'll drop it in the chat for y'all to look up and read, just to get a better idea of where some of the thoughts came from, what experiments was involved in trauma-based, well, basically their understanding of conditioning and things like that now. And some of the dangers that can happen when you do these type of things.
Right, because that brain trying to predict, and it's predicting that rat is the cause of something negative happening to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they condition him to believe that if you've seen a rat, he would get this startled response. It's really the amygdala that triggered that response. And so it was immediate fear and terror that was associated. And you can imagine, because remember we talked about in a book, she talks about the spotlight. So you can imagine what happens that when that spotlight is being programmed into the brain, you could say that you have this trauma-based experience in which you get loud noises. And she talks about that also in the book, like living in sometimes inner cities. Like I grew up, I was my window faced the McDonald's drive-through, and this is back when people would do the parking lot pimping thing. So late at night, they would all drive into the parking lot and play their music loud and drink and get rambunctious, and then start shooting in the air and all like that.
Oh man,
yeah. So she talks about that. Like that's also conditioned to somewhat trauma. You know what I mean? And it affects how your spotlight is. So that's it. So I'll put that in the chat for everybody so they can go ahead and look at it.
There's things that happen at that age that you don't even remember that still affect you. You don't even remember it to even put a a cause to it and say, oh, I'm scared of this because this happened when I was a kid, or this type of area I grew up in. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you don't even know. Like, you don't know why you don't like tomatoes, or you don't know why you don't like this. You just assume it's always been that. But you could have had a traumatizing experience where you ate a bad tomato and it made your stomach upset. And from that moment on, every time you see a tomato, it drives you crazy. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And but how much of that gets passed down through like hereditary? Like, do you think like and I don't know how true this is, but I know they tried to make a connection with like with slavery and black folk, and saying that just tell me, have you ever heard any connections to that, like from our our ancestors to people that's living today, like inheriting some fears or traumas from that?
Yeah, I think behavior is passed down. So people tend, in general, to not fade away too far away from what their parents did. And if you think about that, if we were over, and it's not one generation, it's generations of enslavement and trauma and unwarranted violence. Yeah, that would definitely play a role. They're looking into that. Matter of fact, now in the epigenetics area, it's a sister who got a lab in New York who's doing the generations, and I think she's on the third generation where she did trauma fed with mice, and you can actually see specific genetic changes. And so that's again, that's the thing. But Dr. Joy, the Greyjoy or DeGroy, I can never pronounce her last name. It's just hard. The doctor out in California, she wrote the post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah, she actually made that connection a long time ago. That some of the behaviors that we see in our parenting style were what we call protective methods. So you would I think one of the examples she gave was yeah, exactly, Rashawn. I can't pronounce that. The Groy. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. Maybe forgive me. Blame it on my speech, not on my heart. She put in there one example was like how sometimes black parents would say when their child is doing good, they would say, "Oh, that child, he gives me a hard problem," and she breaks down some of that dynamics, and she says that's associated with when a slave master would come to a child and say, "Well, that child works hard," in order for you to maybe hinder him from selling that child or taking that young girl as a fancy girl, you would downplay her attributes. And she says that behavior pattern is still with us today, if you can get what she's saying.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, that I'll drop the name of that book too in the chat. It's definitely a great read. She gives like numerous examples, not just one. She gives like numerous examples of that process, and she makes them very, very, very valid. I tell you what, her points are much more valid now that we did this 7.5 lessons. I can tell you that there may have been some people who thought she was wilding, but I guarantee you after this book, excuse me, they definitely don't feel the same.
And there's concrete evidence to support that. My bad, somebody called in the middle of you because I'm on my phone. But I don't know if you said they had like concrete evidence to support what she's saying.
Yeah, well, sociology. So it's all, with sociology, those soft sciences, it's more deductive reasoning more so than inductive reasoning based on empirical data. But after looking at it from both sociology, neurology, and psychology, I think she built a beautiful case, because now we definitely know that culture does transmit through generations, right? And they do shape how you perceive the world.
Facts.
And so I think her case is definitely more valid now that we've well, I always did believe it, but after we did this 7.5 lessons, I think
you can see the process that it would take for that to even be a thing.
I think they gave more empirical data to verify and validate her claim.
That's pretty dope. Before we move on, though, I do want to remind the chat that this is the Interactive Brain Show. So we're just pretty much talking about past shows that we did, some of the source material or source materials used for the show, and then our personal experience of how we could see that in our lives. So there's no like official setup or how we construct it. We're just having an open talk about it. We wanted to keep, the conversation going. One that is not about all the rah-rah and drama and the toxic energy of the community, but conversations that actually can be of some usefulness and benefit to us. So anybody in the chat, whether you are familiar with the source material or the conversation or not, if you have some questions, just please do hit the link, join us in the panel so we can just have an open dialogue. Because you might have a take on it that we might not see, or something that we may have omitted or forgot to discuss concerning, the source material, the brain, its functions, its operations, and some of the social and cultural implications to be had with and for the brain, so to speak. So yes, please do hit the link I've put in the chat. I'll keep putting in there often enough. And yeah, let's talk about it for a little bit. But I do want to talk about, so I'm be a little messy here. What's up with our next conversation? With depth of expertise, because I'm really excited to discuss that. I think I've probably listened to that book already like 5 times on Audible. And I never get tired. Like every time I listen to it, I learn something new. But do you think there's some things that we can tie into that from the Brain Show, Marcus, as far as the depth of expertise? Like, do you see an overwhelming connection now? Can you illustrate that for us a little bit?
Yeah, because one thing you talked about was cognitive bias and how that plays. And if you remember, we did do the Brain Show, and even some of the subsequent conversations came up. I kept bringing up this one term called Dunning-Kruger. Dunning-Kruger effect is going to be very, very, very significant in the book, The Depth of Expertise. And it is a human vulnerability. It evolved in humans. Some would argue maybe it's a after effect of other brain processes, but nevertheless, that's definitely going to tie in. And then there's another section that he talks about our social interactions, and this one I don't think well, of course you said you didn't listen to it 5 times, but we waiting for a few more people to get a little further ahead in the Discord. But in this one is very fascinating. So let's say you're sitting there holding a conversation with an expert, and the expert is trying to explain something, and you are maybe not in direct conflict with what they're saying, but you're just holding this conversation. They notice that 2 things occur. One, the expert downplays their expertise as a method not to offend. Right. And then the other person, right, upplays their knowledge as if to say we are that I'm important. And so what ends up happening is that the expert, though they know, it's a funny, fascinating thing, but they put that based on the evolutionary process. And what is that? We evolved as social beings. And so we look for cohesion in our society, whether we like it or not, whether we want to accept it or not. That's just humans. Now we do the us versus them quickly, but that's more of a protective measure. If you would think about evolving where there's limited resources, you would definitely need to protect what little resources you have to ensure that your progeny, your children, survive. And so you get this us versus them. But in your own cohesion unit, you would need to be able to break that and then become submissive somewhat.
Hey, Marcus, you know what's funny about that, yo? So, like how you said, the experts downplay their expertise, and the people that they know it all, like make it seem like they're this great person with knowledge on the subject, even though they don't have the expertise. They still, you know what I mean? They big themselves up to a certain point. It goes the same thing with books. You know how the experts don't put on there that, you know, I'm a doctor, or, you know, all of the accolades that I've gotten or whatever, right? But then you look at the people that write books that really not experts on the subjects, and more than likely get it wrong, put all kinds of Dr. So-and-so, you know, they have this accolade, and you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of a telltale sign. I think we even said back in the day, like if you see a person put whatever their expertise is on the cover of the book, then you kind of already know, like, all right, yeah, this person kind of, they flamming. They already trying to get the credibility for what they writing before we even read the material. You ever heard that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but the thing that's strange about it is, and I find it fascinating to a degree, it's not new. Booker T. Washington wrote about it, saying, hey, man, y'all keep building these fake schools, calling it universities. It's there. Yeah, he already wrote about that, John. He said, man, knock it off.
Oh, man. Yeah, what's up with the fake universities and all that. The professors and the doctors, this one, you know, and you like, yo, so what's your you know, what's your doctorate? Oh, I'm not a real doctor. They just call me that because, you know, around the hood, you know, I'm the knowledgeable one.
Crazy, man. He talked about a story about a student who failed out of his college, Tuskegee, and he's doing this traveling, and he's going to different communities trying to help him out. And they go to this neighborhood, this area, black town. They're like, yeah, we hear you, but we already got a teacher. We got a professor over here at the university. So he go over there and look at it, man. He snapped on that dude, man. He got in the book and everything. Said, what kind of nonsense is this going on?
Hey, look, all their expertise ain't even in the field that they writing the book on, but they still put the doctor on there anyway. And it ain't even in that field.
Exactly. It's a long road, man. Long road. But again, it's not new that we've had that going on for quite some time. If you ever look at something called it's called Speaker Box. It's talking about Harlem back when they was doing they used to go on like 125th, somewhere around there, and on corners they would just stand on soapboxes and speak their speech. You know what I'm saying? That's where Hubert Harrison, one of the black philosophers and humanists early on, got his notoriety from, and that's actually where Marcus Garvey was introduced to too.
I like how you said that, humanist.
That's where he, you know, and you read about what's going on. They had fake shamans over there, fake Egyptian adepts. And I'm saying this is back in the 1920s. And I'm saying, man, we still got them charlatans around now. Dr. Sabi, Commission Adept, Umar Johnson. It's the same scam and stuff over and over and over again. And it's somewhat concerning to me is that we haven't learned from that. But then again, you know, we're accustomed to it. You know, we're raised in these type of ultra oppressive, you could say, limited environments. And so,
I think majority of people haven't heard that though. Like majority of people ain't really hearing, you know, the tricks to look out for that some of these guys use. That's why they're so successful, because they could take advantage of majority of the population, because they're just not trained for that. You know what I mean? You know, we preach the scientific literacy, and just being real, majority of the world isn't scientifically literate. Not to pat ourselves on the back, and like, you know, we ain't exceptional or nothing like that, but you know, we just happen to fall into a place where we can learn things and get the tools and know, all right, you know, you got to look out for this. When they come with this, you know, they flam and they scamming, or you know, if they ain't backing that up with a source, then you know. So you know, everybody's not really privy to that type of way of looking at information.
well, that's part of the overall conversation, right? Basically, um, and even in the depth of expertise, where we going to next? He talks about the dumbing down of the American voter. Like he talks specifically about that in connection to that we may have much more information available to us, but it is not actually making us any smarter. It
Right.
could be making us a little bit more susceptible to the foolery.
I think it's making us lazy in a sense, and you know, because I don't know, it's like technology is a blessing and a curse type of situation, from what I'm saying. But I do like how he starts in that source material, speaking on, you know, now that we have more people who are educated, you know, by university college standards, and how that um can be a problem, you know, because now everybody thinks they're an expert. You know, you can walk around here with an associate's degree, but you're an expert. You feel me? Uh, you got a bachelor of science. So by that, you know everything in science, you know,
Man,
because we've heard this, right? How many times have we heard, I have a degree in computer science. So I can,
mm,
and the subject matter has nothing to do with computer science. You feel me? So is it
yep. Or
weird? Like,
I
it's a
read a
general.
hundred, or I read 100 books. I read 100 books, but they don't tell you like, yo, what was the quality of the books you read?
Mm,
If
mm,
you read
mm.
100 books with
Right.
garbage in it,
It could have been 100 Nuwapian books. And
yeah,
nigga,
yeah.
you gotta sit down. You
I,
out of line for that.
man,
Nobody.
listen, I remember my homeboy, right? You know, Cat, I ain't talked to him in a long time, but I remember he was trying to get me onto the Whoppy and shit. And I looked at the book, you know, looked through it and all that. I'm like, this a little weird. You know what I mean? I wasn't really feeling it.
Them weird
And
pictures on the front.
yeah, the
Oh, we
pictures
gotta.
was all drawn and wasn't no real pictures, and he got a lot of tabloid pictures in there, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but I remember him telling me like, "Yo, this is the smartest guy in the world. He wrote over 400 books,
Jesus.
and nobody has done that." And I'm like,
Attention already.
anybody can write. I ain't gonna say anybody can write 400 books, but if you got a
Anybody
lot
can
of
write some
garbage to write, you
crap.
copy it and paste it, and you doing all this, that,
Yeah.
and the third, like, and you writing like 10 pages. Come on, man.
We've
You know what I
seen
mean? So
it
that
done already, right? They
right, and then you
copying
pick
and
up.
pasting, selling a book for $50. Ain't talking
Yeah,
about nothing but
look,
trash information.
but he wrote it. I don't even know how many books the dude did write. I know he probably put out a bunch of material, but it shows that, yo, this dude could write all of the things that he wrote. I could care less if he wrote 400 books, but it's full of garbage. It's like this, you know what I mean? So just how many books you write doesn't attest to your intelligence. You know what I mean? It's the content within the books that you write.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Facts.
what I mean? And if it's backed up with evidence and research, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So yeah, but
Um,
yeah,
I just wanted to say, Ronald Perkins, you have to hit the panel in order for us to engage in the question.
yeah. Robert put that long ass question. Come on, bro.
Go ahead, hit that link, Ronald.
Golly, you got the longest
I
thing
know
on
you watch
the.
other stuff. I don't already seen you, but you gotta hit that link. If you want us to engage in the question. This is the
Hey,
interactive brain show, hence the interactive brain show.
so he did. So he asked about the. I know he probably gonna hit the panel. You know, Robert always come
Come
up.
on, Ronald. Just go
He
ahead and make
asked
it fun for
about
us.
the implants could be used to change the way someone thinks or change their personality.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that. Maybe somebody else has. I don't know. Maybe Marcus could tap in. I know I did see something where they said they have an implant that they could put in your brain or something and make you do something, like make your hand move or something like that.
For paralyzed people, I've seen that. They
Yeah,
just have
like without you
um
even. No, this
well
was like without you even. Well, yeah, you're right on what you're saying. I'm saying this guy was like, this is like a regular like a person whose arms and everything is moving, right?
mhm.
And he put the thing in his head and it did something, gave it an impulse or something,
Oh,
and his hand
involuntary
moved.
movement.
Yeah, and his hand. Well, no, his hand moved, and he didn't will it. He didn't do that. I know Marcus probably can clear that up on me. I think Sapolsky might have been talking about that, but you know how people go when we when we
Oh,
mention
like
Sapolsky name, right?
there's some type of syndrome or I
Yeah,
forgot
it's like something they did to make the
I
person move.
forgot what they called it though.
And
Um
I'm not talking
phantom,
about the
like a
study.
phantom signal or some help
Yeah,
us
something
out,
like that.
Marcus. But I remember what you
You
were
heard
talking
that though,
about.
right?
I don't know if we messing it up a little, but the only thing that I know is to the point of his question, though, before Marcus jumped in, is this situation. I've seen it more than twice about a woman who had a stroke. So you know, of course, she has some brain damage in some of the areas for like motor skills and speech and things like that. And they have put this implant in her brain. Um, and I can't tell y'all how it functions and give you the lowdown. My apologies, I can't. But for whatever reason, it allows her to communicate with speech by using a AI generated avatar. Okay,
Right.
so it's in her brain, but I guess while she's thinking of words or whatnot, it's actually uh, having the avatar speak out what she's thinking because she's unable to speak. So I've seen
Mm.
that, and that's a little bit to his point, but that has to do with like medical usage
You,
or
you talking
um,
about what your boy got? What's the guy in the wheelchair?
like Stephen
Hawkins.
Hawkins.
Yeah, Stephen Hawkins.
Yeah, something like that, and it's some other like I know that they are testing and doing doing some testing and for tools or scientific tools that people that have certain disabilities can utilize to help
Hmm.
them communicate or just move around and different things like that, whether it has to do with some technology to use for their body for body movement and function, you get what I'm
Hmm.
saying, or whether it has to do with them to be able to communicate, whether it be
Yeah.
through an AI avatar or whatnot. I have seen that on not just the woman. I've seen her like a couple times, but on some other subjects who have different, how shall I say, physical disabilities in some place, and how they're utilizing technology by way of some type of, brain implant to help
Right.
bodily functions or speech. Yeah,
Right.
I'll tie it up. Peace to Ronald. How you doing? Welcome to the panel.
Hey, peace, everybody.
What's
Hopefully,
up, man?
everybody's having a good day.
Yeah, wonderful
Yes,
day.
excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
I was going back and forth between a couple of shows, but I don't want to give Black Egypt a rest for
Man,
the day.
you're not allowed to mention that over
Uh,
the
Oh,
word.
okay,
Never say
sorry.
that
hey,
word.
Ron, you got to know when you're being lured in, man. When you're
Yeah,
being lured into
yeah.
the trap, yo.
It is
Because
can be emotional, but let's stay out of it
it's
for a while.
yeah, just a short little,
Respite.
I think they get beat down so bad that where they still trying to hang on to a little bit of life, so they just keep on trying to pick a fight when the fight is over with.
But I
Yeah,
You know
mean,
what I mean?
yes.
but Ronald,
Yes.
how does the conversation help us though? The one
I
that
don't. I
you
But
don't.
can't
I
mention,
don't think
but
it. I don't
how
think it
does it help
does.
us? How
I
can
don't
we
think.
benefit?
no, yeah, I
I
agree.
don't.
Go
I
ahead,
don't.
Mark. I mean, Ron.
Yeah, I don't think it does help us ultimately. I think it's um,
Toxic.
for me, it's a no-win scenario, and
No,
Yeah.
it would
People
actually
gonna,
be a good conversation if the negativity wasn't so, you know what I mean?
But it's a toxic
Um,
it's kind of like you
yeah.
can't get away from it though. I feel like no matter how hard people have tried to go into a different direction, it's just toxic. But
mm,
Yeah, I
we
mean, if
can't
you kept
talk
it on
about
the,
it.
if you
Oh,
kept it, just purely on the intellectual level, where
mm-hmm.
everybody was just given sources and facts and staying level-headed, then great.
man,
But when it
man,
gets
you take
into name calling and
It's
man,
over.
hey, look, think about it like this, yo. You taking away people's $5,000 ticket, goddamn
Oh,
Egyptian
oh.
trip sales. When
yeah,
you got there, when you got a trip to there, you bringing people to Egypt for 4,000 a pop, and
yeah,
somebody tell you that them niggas ain't black.
yeah, I can see where that could be a
Yeah.
little bit
Hey,
problematic, and you want to
yeah,
protect
man.
you
Well,
always
I
want to
thought
protect
you
the
was gonna
gold at
go in
all
the other
costs.
direction, Kent. You
Yeah,
Nah, my
funny.
bad.
protect the gold
Oh
Nah.
at
man,
all
I forgot
costs.
you. Hey, my bad, you. I forgot you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm on that side, but I
But
don't.
you going for a different reason. You going for a different
Yeah, I
reason.
mean, for different reasons, and also I don't. For me, it doesn't. It doesn't change the fundamental things that I believe in terms of science and scientific literacy and those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
My whole argument about Black Egypt is I've always tried to
I
couch it
can't
in
say that
science.
word.
Oh well,
I'm so serious.
in terms, yeah, I know you are.
I'm so
So,
serious.
but my arguments, I always try to couch my arguments in what I consider to be reasonable scientific methods. But that's neither here nor there. It's this discussion tonight is about the brain, and I think you guys have an excellent show here that really, ultimately, I think moves us forward
Right.
in terms of our intellectual uh, thinking and the way that we can progress as people. I think this is one of the things that you guys talk about. Some things that are not well talked about or talked about enough in our community. So
Yeah.
Right.
that's why I'm interested in these types of discussion. This show, the show about astronomy and
Mm-hmm.
stars, those things are
Yeah, boy, that show
very
was
interesting.
fire.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. So I think that I know you guys try to make a sort of a very broad view of things having to do with science as well as popular culture, those types of things. So I think you have
Mm-hmm.
a well-rounded view of the world. So I can
Yeah,
appreciate.
hey, Ron, it actually answers a lot of childhood questions for a lot of people, man. I know for me, like I said, probably plenty of shows before. Like, I had those questions as a kid, yo, like how the hell did we get here? I might have not a
Yeah,
curse, but I was like,
yeah,
yeah, like what, where I come from? They say God. Then where God come from? But the answers never really added up, made sense.
right.
You know what I mean? But I know that there were some kids that grew up that might have been in a situation where they actually had scientists they could ask that question to that gave them real down to earth answers back with evidence so they can understand the world around them a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? So that's what I like about our shows, man. It's helping some kids out there, man. I guarantee it.
yeah. I mean,
Helping
and
teenagers, adults that just
yeah,
had these questions for years, like, what's the black hole and
yeah.
what happened with the Big Bang? What's that about? You know what I mean?
It certainly points you.
What
I think it points people in the
that
right. It points people in a direction that says, okay, don't.
yeah.
Here's what I'm telling you guys. I think this is what you guys do very well. You say, okay, here's what the experts say,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right, right.
but don't trust me with that. Go back and go and take a look for yourself. Go dig for yourself.
Hey, look,
So
and if you think about it, yo, hey, the pseudos do that too, though. Remember, York used to be on some junk. Don't trust me, go look it up.
mhm.
But that used to be his kind of like way to way to kind of get you to kind of believe him a little bit because you be like, well, damn, that nigga said look it up, so he can't be lying. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
No, he
So you
understood you
really,
could find that thing. My fault. He understand you could find what he was saying.
You ain't gonna just jump out
My
there.
fault.
yeah,
I apologize for that. I
Formal
apologize.
introduction.
no,
Go
you
ahead,
right.
introduce
Hold on. No,
yourself.
hey, look,
Black
you
African
been in
power.
the Joe. You
Black
know what
African
what
power.
he used to do.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
fault. But that's
Nah, you good, man.
that's the trick. That's the trick. So you can find you can find anything that will help you in your confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah,
easy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you can find about the Anunnaki, right? If you keep looking up, you're gonna have all
Evolution.
this Okay, evolution, whatever, but the algorithm
Don't do
work
that.
that way.
You gotta wait till your introduction.
No,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah,
We here.
actually that's actually a good point.
Oh, we here, Kent.
Are you
Oh, we
chasing
here.
me around here?
Yeah,
We
let's
here.
go.
Did you just chase me over here?
That's a
Nah,
good
we
example.
here.
Not a good
I
point.
know
Juju,
everybody's
we in
supposed to be
the
coming
building
over
today.
here.
Hey, look.
What?
That's a good point you made though, because he
Me?
did say go look it up, and you can't find that particular information if your brain has already got the confirmation
Jesus
bias. If
Christ.
you ain't got the two.
Right, boy.
Yeah. But for a minute, let's go ahead. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Bobby Benga. Highlight the people real quick officially.
What's going on with the pseudo killers, man? Pseudo killers on deck, man. I see Sosa. I see him. I see you, Kent. Chill.
do,
What's
what it
up,
do?
man? And you, the lovely Juju.
That's
And
Ron, your
brother
name, so.
Ron. Brother Ron.
Oh.
And then that damn Thunder following me all the rest. We on golf. You say, are we going over here now? How you beat me here, yo?
I beat you here.
That's funny. But go ahead, introduce yourself real quick, Thunder.
What's up, everybody, man? I love every last one of you all, man. If I ain't never told you that, I'm gonna tell you now. You all are some loved individuals, period. And you ain't gonna stop me from doing it. But we gonna bang out on evolution, nigga. We bang.
Hey,
gonna
now,
bang.
I was just about
Don't make
to
us
say
pull a
evolution.
foul on you.
But let me ask you
Hey,
this
look.
question though.
If we
Juju,
kind of
I know
steer
you
towards
into
the brain, if we can talk about it through
No.
like the brain.
I'm gonna be in and out. But Juju, let me ask you this: Did y'all? And I ain't telling y'all how to run your show, but I do know y'all do cover space, right? So we know we got SpaceX doing this thing
Mhm.
yesterday. I don't know if you all covered that or will cover it or don't have a desire to cover it, but I'm saying that I think it'll be pretty cool for y'all to present that
So
that aspect as well. If you're not,
yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on actually. And I live in Florida, so there's constantly launches going on with different stuff. You feel me? Like I don't think people realize how much that they're having these type of launches, right? Because hi Amir, happy belated birthday,
Amir!
Amir. Who's from your unknown Auntie Juju. But I just want to say happy birthday, Amir.
Happy birthday, man!
Yeah, that's your twin, Garfield.
Happy birthday,
But-
man.
Happy
So
birthday.
what we do on the shows with our Galaxy and Beyond is a lot of times if we're not covering certain things, I think that should be okay because we are dealing with a certain instrumental tool. Not to say that we don't deal with any others, but we do have a line of discourse when it comes to the show. But we provide so many resources. Like I have given people links for about everything. To SpaceX, to the European Space Station, and all that. So, you know, in your free time with your children, you can be participating in that. Like, you know, when the launches are going off. So you can go out with your children and see a launch, you know, in real time and things like that. So I think we give the tools for people to engage in that, whether we discuss it or not. But, you know, yeah, it's a lot of things. So, I mean, that's just where, because it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on. So sometimes it's hard to discuss everything. And some of our points is just to give people the basics so they'll have a better understanding of astronomy. You feel me? Like astronomy 101 from novice and enthusiast, but still. And then we've had expert interviews already. That was some of our, you know, first for the year expert interviews with 2 astrophysicists that didn't get a lot of numbers, but they spoke on some real awesome stuff.
Oh yeah, that one was deep. Yeah.
Relationships. So we've already done that work. But I'll land there. But yeah, I mean, you know, thank you. And I'll probably mention on the show if you want me to. I take requests. This is the request line. But,
No,
I'm in Florida right now, Juju. I got a personal request. You got a request? You can pick me up from the airport.
Oh man, okay.
for real, man, I'll come get you, man.
Okay.
Shoot.
You say you take
down there for
What airport?
you
Is
down
it
there for
Miami?
bike
If
week?
it's Miami, nah.
a
You're
request.
in Jacksonville or Orlando, I can help you out. You know what I mean?
Listen, you were extremely vague with that comment. When you say I take requests, you got to be specific.
Oh God, yeah,
You
yeah.
got crazy
with
dudes
the
like Garfield. You know
show.
I'm Jamaican. My mind is wild.
Take it all over the place. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, Garfield, real quick, and then Willie Daniels. Thank you for hitting the panel. You know, shout out to the people real quick before y'all go.
Yeah,
you
peace
know.
and love. This brother Garfield, Dagger Squad CEO for life. And I'm gonna start doing some shows on the Dagger Squad YouTube too, man. So I could bang. That's gonna be my banging channel.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'll bang on Willie Daniels first. I gotta bang on him first. Okay, that's what we do. I gotta bang on him first. He's the Abo stomper, but I'm the Willie Daniels stomper. How about that?
Boy, that's funny.
No, I'm good, man. Well, peace and love, man. I'm gonna check out the show. I gotta help Amir with his homework.
That's all right. Get that homework.
Peace.
Yeah, appreciate you for sliding through Garfield, man.
Yeah,
Bring some
I definitely
people through,
appreciate
man.
the
We appreciate
support.
that love. That's how we do, man. We ready, turn it up a little bit on this joint, man. Where y'all at, man? How many people we got?
Is there a specific topic today? Is there a specific
topic? We were doing we call the interactive brain show, just going over some of the source materials we use for the brain conversation and to see where people were on that, whether they dealt with the show or not, if they had their own ideas, experiences, or just something to share concerning brain development and some things that we can do to kind of combat some of the generational curses and how we can affect people, because we've learned a lot.
Hey, let me ask you a question as a woman, Juju. Yesterday, right, I had my son's mother, right? And I said, good job. She said, why are you telling me good job? One of the things years ago when we was married, she hate when I gave her a compliment. She's like, I'm supposed to do this.
You are.
Because she did the whole setup. As men, we just say, here's the money. Do whatever you got to do. And she's like, why are you telling me good job? I always do this. Like, what's the... She felt kind of. What do you think about that? Men shouldn't compliment women and say, "Hey, you did a nice job."
Men should and women should do the same. I think it should be both ways. We should compliment each other. Those are like words of affirmation. You feel me?
Add to the body budget.
Is that a Mawata Ashby moment? You're talking about words of affirmation?
No. I'm more talking about when. Okay, so they have this thing talking about what is your love language?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so I think that's a fun thing for couples to do. I've tried to do it with my love interest. Like that'd be like on the second, third date type thing. But I think anybody can do it in any type of relationship. You feel me? Especially if that's the mother of your child. But love languages, it's fun. It's like a questionnaire, so you can gauge on what are those things that you read as someone loves you. You feel me? And I feel like the better you know a person, the better you can be and do by that person, right? So, and I always ask the people that I have love interests, like what's your love language, or what are those things? I might not say like that, but I definitely will ask them, well, like, what are those things that make you feel wanted and loved by a woman? You feel me? And I just think that has to do with, that has to do with a little bit of our childhood traumas. For whatever reason, I think Black people as a whole are kind of like, oh, we're supposed to do that. I don't need nothing. But yes, we do. We actually do. I think everybody wants to be like congratulated or at least giving some type of, positive reinforcement for it is hard work to raise a child. So let's not, act like it's not. So, and everybody everybody may not be doing it right or up to par. And some people may not be even realizing how much they are doing that you may not see in other mothers. So yeah, just still give it a compliment. Whether she, receives it or not, you're doing your part. Still do that. And I think, maybe subconsciously it's being received. Whether she pushes back or not, that's just her being humble. You feel me? But we should compliment each and every last one of us, men and women alike, all the time. And it doesn't have to be romantic either, right?
And by the way, happy Mother's History Month. Women's History Month. I mean,
yeah. Thank you,
Miss Tiffany. Miss Tiffany, I think I'm gonna replay that interview we did, man. I gotta play that. People I'm gonna replay.
You ain't lying. Every chance we can sit
here goes
the
thirsty nigga moment. Here goes the thirsty nigga moment.
You can look at Miss Tiffany. Let's take it.
Please, Tiffany, y'all, you gonna get shot, man.
You know what's funny though? You know what's funny? This is Pseudo Killers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the woman's beauty is based off of her fucking intelligence. It ain't based off the way your perceived vision of how they look. It's actually based off of how you formulate your sentences, how you formulate your opinion, how you can back that up by scientific data. That's the only reason Miss Tiff and Juju and over here, and Miss Bennett and all the other women, we ain't judging them on if they find this, because that's subjective.
Yeah, you could be fine and crazy now.
Yeah, you can be and retarded. We seen it. You can be
Oh,
fine and
man.
out
Got a
your
straight
damn
jacket,
mind,
like,
rabbit, straight
yeah,
jacket,
boy.
crazy,
I got
running for
got a
public
question for you.
office.
Boy,
Got a
that's
question
bound
for
to
you
have
though,
you in
Unc.
jail.
So
How does
don't
that
cut me
how
off.
does,
I'm
how does
I'm
that
trying
square
to.
with
Doc's going. Let me
how
jump
does
off,
that square
y'all.
with evolution though?
I listen to
Thank you,
you.
Garfield. I
All right,
appreciate
peace
it.
and love.
Hey, God,
Appreciate it.
appreciate that, yo. How many people we
Hey,
got in the building,
hey
man?
Unc,
We gotta get this
just real
thing
quick
up. Who's
question.
supposed to be?
Oh man, we had
Wait a
about
minute, we got
200.
one more.
Question
Hey,
We had
for
about
Garfield, I
200 or
need your
300.
thing.
Can we
Huh?
let Willie Daniels get it? You know, introduce himself
Oh,
to the people's peace, Willie. Thank you for hitting the panel,
Where the hell-
fam.
What time is it?
What
You
up,
on
Willie?
mute, Willie. We can't
What
hear
up,
you.
Will? Can't hear you. You on mute,
You
Willie?
gotta go in and go out and come back in. I'll
We can
save
hear
you
you.
spot.
Oh,
No, we can't hear him.
No, he was off of mute.
why
So
we got 37 people in this joint?
because
It dropped. Hey, look, it dropped when y'all came. We had about 100.
you
Lying.
stupid. That's
Nigga lying.
funny.
Hey, about
Came in, everybody
15.
was like, "Oh
That is
hell
funny.
no!"
Hey, about 15. Nigga, you better.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all ain't talking about that BE conversation, then you already know what it is. When it's the stuff that we need.
Nah, you're supposed to be. It's really the interactive brain show. What's the issue with skin
Nobody.
color? And
Which
talk
one
about
is
it from a brain perspective, yo.
make people hit the link, like
Yeah, yo. So what's going on, Willie?
What would that do?
What's going on, brother Unc and
There you
everybody on the
go.
panel?
How you doing, man?
I had a phone call, that's why I was messing up. And
Oh
the
yeah,
person-
it'll do that.
They just kept calling, so that's why I was acting up. So let me introduce myself. My name is Willie Daniels. I'm here for information. I'm here to also
Absolutely.
challenge information that I don't agree with. That's it. I don't have nothing else on my resume.
What's your first question, Willie? Let's see if you can get it right. What's your first?
It ain't no right or wrong.
My first question.
Yeah, what you got?
What's my first question?
Because I know I don't care. I know how you do.
Okay, here go my first question. It's directly to you, Unc.
Uh-oh.
Why can't Egypt be black?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can't. It can be whatever you want it to be, yo, Willie.
Pause.
Oh,
No, I'm
couldn't
saying,
help
come on,
myself.
Juju. Let me give him his answer. It can be whatever you want.
Oh, you kicked him off.
Come
I'm
on,
just
Juju.
kidding.
Don't you want?
I'm just kidding. You want to drive? I'm just kidding. No. We're not doing that.
It can be whatever you want it to be, Willie. That's in your mind right now from a scientific perspective. You know what I'm saying? That's the racism that put 12 million people in slavery, yo. That's why. That's my answer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Gotta
That's real.
You blacked out, Willie, and we can't hear you.
His phone probably right again.
Yeah, his phone messing up, man.
What up, Sabio?
There's got to be some psychological reasons that we could talk.
Yeah,
about.
let me. What's up, Sabio? Let me finish Ron's question.
I will.
Right
Can we let the people on the stage though?
Go ahead.
Get it stable, and I'll get back to it. What up, Sabio? Welcome to the
drive
panel.
a wild ass truck, yo. You be hitting the this motherfucker.
Can you jeez.
Then put people out, let them in, put them back in.
I'm about to kick you off the stage in a minute.
Knocking people off the motherfucker.
You about to get kicked off the stage. Actually, he left. I haven't kicked anybody off the stage, Bobby. Stop disrupting my show, please.
Right, because you stumped him on the Egypt. You could have. I'm saying, let me just say this real fast, though, yo. All the goddamn information we got, yo, there has to be a psychological brain reason, right? Why people cling like this to that in the face of evidence. What is that? You know what I'm saying? What is that? Marcus got a whole chart of behaviors based off the brain. Matter of fact, the picture look like a damn brain with different characteristics. Yo, what characteristics are being brought out in these conversations, man? Right? That's what that's what the people really want to know. Or at least I want to know. Why is it? Right? When one person says something clear as day, we think it to be clear, right? We thinking that we understand, like what Carl Cooney said, we thought we understood, right? And then other people played the video and they thought they understood. And those people said, why y'all ain't hollering, screaming at her like that? Because we thought we understood what she was saying. We agreed with her. There was no need to push back. So what is that? What is that? What is that going through our heads? Can somebody help answer that question for me? Marcus, Juju, Kent, y'all that was really into the thing. Explain that, yo. What's going on, yo?
I think there's a lot of cognitive bias going on. It's feel good information. Dunning-Kruger, I think Marcus was building on the Dunning-Kruger effect earlier, which I'm about to get into in that next book y'all about to read, the expertise book. It's a bunch of things at play though. It's like, man, I'm thinking things from even back when people was kids. The tools that they were given as children and how they were treated as children that start to, play out as adults as well. So, I mean, I don't think you can pinpoint it to just one thing. I think it's a lot of shit going on, man.
How about you, Marcus?
Well, in some cases, it's tied to the social construct of identity, right? So how we identify ourselves and what we associate ourselves with. That begins to change some of the conversation, right? It's harder for people to accept information when it's personally when it's personally involving who they think they are, right? And so that always makes it much more difficult. And you can find it. A prime example is Trump supporters, right? They got these, they're made to be funny and mock them, but you have to really listen to them from a point of how psychology, evolutionary sociology, and psychology and neurology would probably view such behaviors, right? Because they wouldn't view it necessarily the same way, right? And they would ask some questions, say, one example was they did it with Joe Biden, right? And they said Joe Biden, it was found out that Joe Biden had an affair with a stripper and he paid her to keep quiet. And you could see the visceral, the anger and frustration in them. And then they would say to him, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was Donald Trump." And immediately you would see how their facial expressions and body language would change. And what they say that's exactly what we're talking about. They identify themselves with Donald Trump. And so their behavior patterns change based on how they feel it. And this is the core essence of cognitive bias, right? So that's what that is. It's the fundamental part of cognitive bias. They did a study. They asked data analysts to study newspaper articles for or against whatever their perspective was. And it was much harder for them to find the logical data errors when it went for their perspective versus for when they went against it. So that's another point to it. And the worst aspect of that is politics and self-identity. So that's it.
No, but I know you was finished, Mark. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm done.
Hey, so like even when it comes to Christians, right? You know how God can't lose. It's like if somebody's dying, we praying in the church, hey, we pray that your sister get through and God gonna work it out for her, and he's a on time God and all that, right? And everybody cheering, and if she pulled through, then look at God, right? But if the sister die, and it's God was ready to take her home because it was the time, and he ain't never. It's like they're gonna make it like how Marcus said about the Trump supporters, and when they found out it was Biden, they learned about what Biden said, but it was really Trump that said it, and they just found an excuse why they still support Trump. It works. I don't know. It's the same thing with religion too, or with whatever identity, whatever cultural identity that you align with.
Hey, can I ask a question? I think Marcus and Kent, you guys both made good points, but I can really understand why Black people in this country or African Americans in this country take a hard stance towards Black culture, Black civilizations, Black whatever. But the question, I think a better question though is, when I talk to you guys are actually on the other side of the fence. And the question I have for you is, being
what
Black,
fence is that though?
Well, you say that they're indigenous African. You don't push it beyond that. You don't say that they're Black. And so
right.
So the question.
But I say African Americans are Black though, right?
Yeah. But
I'm Black and I'm proud.
But as a Black African American, how are you able to not push it? push that towards the African, or be more strongly towards.
What is that? No.
I can't. It's got something's playing. I miss something.
Somebody
Hello?
got mute them out.
Somebody's got something going on. It's,
That's my bad. My bad. I forgot to hit the mute. My bad.
Okay.
no problem. So the question I have for you guys is, how are you not able to be more strongly bent towards Black Egypt or Black Africa? I mean, how are you able to divorce yourself from that notion?
Because it's a false.
Because really, I think really you would be in the minority.
Nah. So you say science is in a minority, right?
And I'm saying the way that thought, that thinking is in the minority within the black population.
Yeah. I think that's a minority, period, because it's scientific and it takes study to even get to that. Right?
No.
Like you would have to know that it was racist. Like, I showed the Jim Crow laws, yo. Like,
yeah.
So I'm an advocate for fighting against racism, white supremacy. And it was Charles Darwin theory that actually put that hammer on it. Mm-hmm. Now, it didn't change people's minds, but what it did was it gave us a snapshot. It gave us data. It gave us things we could study and look at and organize it and have a real conversation. Right before then, anything with the 5 races: Mongoloid, Caucasoid, Oceania, Negroid. You know what I'm saying? All that was in the game.
But don't you think that
so that was
we all understand? We all can understand that.
We
all can understand that.
I guess not, because we still saying it. So that means you don't understand it, right? You know what I'm saying? And science is slow. So they still trying to remove. They still trying to remove those terms, though, brother. So if I say that I'm Black and I'm proud, that should absolutely tell you that I'm not denying our Blackness. I'm just saying it's not a scientific concept. Race is not. And that's something I reserve for my politics. Mm-hmm. It's not something I have in my scientific conversations. That's all.
But scientifically, I think what Marcus said makes a whole lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense.
I must have missed it. I must have missed what Marcus said. What did Marcus say against what I'm just saying? Did he?
Marcus, is Marcus still there?
Yes.
Yeah. So Marcus basically is saying that we are governed by tribalism. We have identity politics. We identify with certain things, certain groups.
How does that throw me off? How does that put me?
Because you're not pushing towards, because you're Black. You're a Black man.
Yeah, I'm a Black man.
But you say I draw at the shores of the Atlantic and the Pacific. I draw the line right there. You don't go beyond that.
No, that's not real. I'm saying I draw the line of colonialism.
Yeah, I understand, but
when they introduced it, I want the real education behind it. Right?
I guess what I'm saying is
conversation, then why we say it? I like to know the education behind that.
Yeah, right? but I think we don't always talk about this in biological
terms. Are the Egyptians white?
Excuse me?
Are the Egyptians white?
No, that's the discussion. No, we don't believe they're white. Right?
Why not? Because if they Black, they can surely be white.
I mean, I don't want to get into this. We're talking about.
I'm making a point here. Why can't they celebrate the whiteness?
I think you're.
No, they got people in Egypt with blue eyes. No, they got people in Egypt with blue eyes. Just actually light skin.
I know, but you're getting off topic.
The topic is being white.
The topic is about identification. The topic was about identification.
So I'm trying to show you why you asked the question on why I don't do it, because then you open up the floodgates, right? Where you get people say they got Indo-European DNA, thus they're white.
I understand, but those discussions have taken place, and I don't want.
No, they have not. No, they're still around. No, bro, they're still around right now.
They've taken
Indo-European. Hold on, you have Indo-European DNA in Egyptians, yo. And it's been in there. No, it's been in there for 20,000 years before it even was a place called Egypt. How do you reconcile that then? If they're saying that they're white people, right? Then Egyptians got white people DNA. Jabari says it. Jabari says that the quote unquote Libyans are Europeans because Diop said it.
Yeah.
Nobody calls that man on that. The Libyans are in Egypt, and there was a Libyan dynasty. No one
We're not
says
talking about the
anything,
minutia. We're not talking about the
bro.
minutia. We're not talking about
It's
the
not
minutia
minutia.
of
It's
the.
only minutia when I bring it up, though, bro.
No. I'm
Think
talking
about
about
that.
identification. I'm
Well,
not
you
talking
can
about
only
the
talk about the
details.
black identification, right? If there's a white identification, because that was the only reason why I was that.
No.
You can't take away the white and still talk about the black.
You're making this conversation a little bit more convoluted than what
It's convoluted.
I think yeah the way it
Just
started.
saying
It started
Egyptians
was
are black.
your question was about what is it mentally about people like me and Smash and name them, Reggie, whoever, while we identify strongly with a black Egypt in face of, as you would say,
Scientific information.
the science and the consensus. So I'm
Since
asking you to reverse
1974 that the
why.
conference of Diabs was at.
I mean,
Don't forget all that.
You have to let me finish. You have to let me finish so I can kind of frame this in the way I think we started it. And so Marcus gave a good answer as to why that could be. So then I asked the question, well, what about the other side? Why, if you are a black man, we're black people, why aren't we? How are we able to disassociate from that then? How are you able to disassociate from that?
Because I don't. Because because I can read and write and I can count and I understand chronology, so I don't have to disassociate myself with it. I just gotta read and act like I can read.
I know, but you're assuming that the rest of us can't do those things.
Yeah, obviously can't do it.
But that's not true.
You're not comprehending. No, bro, you're a high level thinker, yo. Until it comes to this, there's a mental block to dive in on you.
But that's what Marcus was trying to answer.
Yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere. That's what Marcus was trying to answer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Pick up the brass.
Yeah. Why aren't you? Why does that not work for you or for Marcus or for Kent or for Juju or for the rest of the PKs? Why does it not work for you? I mean, if you call yourself a Black American, you don't feel it strongly.
All right. Let me give you some ideas into that. It may be a subject in which we aren't as invested in at this present time, but there could always be other subjects in which your cognitive biases can come into play. So in my case, we was doing the brain show, and there was a section that had to do with your brain being a prediction, right? And at the time, there was an incident in Philadelphia in which a cop had just shot an individual in the car, and his partner had yelled out "gun," and the other cop, who's pretty new, ended up shooting into the car, killing the man. And that was, in a sense, that brought about this cognitive bias, right? And it brought to a point in me personally in which I had to evaluate, will I stand with science or will I take my personal vitriol against police and just ignore what the actual evidence is. And the evidence is that it shows that the way you're brought up, the way you're raised, propaganda, and how you view people creates the predictive model in your brain. And therefore, I'm not going to say people aren't culpable, but in a sense, I can now understand how in heightened environments, people will more than likely make mistakes. What that means today and the consequences, I'm not sure. But that's one of the areas in which my own personal cognitive bias played a part in how I had to evaluate that. And to this day, I still struggle with that. The fact that I looked at it as a Black male in America as this is solely racism and cops hate Black people. And I held that view for a very, very long time. And looking at Lisa Barrett's book, she brought that to the forefront and saying, wait a minute, you know, what is actually going on in the brain and the behavior. I want to read a quote. I'm going to end up going to get this quote from Ralph Ellison. It's a quote that kind of summarizes how historically Black people have been viewed. And then I have to take that into consideration that the brain takes that same historical presence and creates a predictive model on what the world may be like.
You're making some really good points. But the only question, and I know you're going to read from Ralph Ellison, but real quick. So you're telling me that by reading a book and synthesizing what's in that book was enough for you to say that, this is the way it is. Like, I shouldn't have this cognizant bias against police.
No. I'm telling you, I'm giving you where someone may be having cognitive bias about Black Egypt. Mine had to do with police, and I still struggle with it. I didn't say that I'm in wholehearted agreement with her. I'm telling you that I recognize that this may be a bias of mine towards police officers. I mean, I'm telling you what it is. Now, each person may have their own areas in which their cognitive biases may play a role in it. And that includes even the scientists themselves, which is why they're trained how to try to avoid this. He talked about the pinwheel of biases that they currently know exists within the realm of human nature and behavior. So Butu, he said something that the cops, you're trained as a cop not to react emotionally. And he is correct, except for that training. There's examples like they had one in Florida, they had one in Georgia, in which they took mugshots of Black people and used it for target practice. So that also becomes part of the predicting model. And training can only go but so far when we're talking about systemic racism and how effective it is in the propaganda. I could give you a prime example. It's actually one of the sources that we use for today's show. Most people would think that crime is prevalent and that it's increasing, but the truth of the matter is it's been on a steady decline since the 90s. But what has changed is the amount of information you receive about crime. And so you perceive that crime is getting out of hand and is running rampant, when in all actuality, violent crimes and crimes against property actually have been on a pretty steady decline since the early 90s. That's an example of what I'm talking about. And so if you have places like New York who over-report in the news and stuff like that of Black people committing crimes, that creates a brain that predicts Black people as dangerous. It was propaganda in the 1916s to the 1919s called the Red Summers, which led to the destruction of numerous Black towns. It's well documented that propaganda prone people to respond in visceral and violence against Black progress and any incident in which involved Black men. And so that's just a scientific fact. We don't have to debate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your answer. I think it was a good answer, and I understand it. I'm just trying to now understand, based on your answer, why is it that the pseudo killers can disassociate themselves from having a strong predilection towards a Black Egypt versus what I consider to be the majority view within Black population, based on what Marcus just said about how we identify and how we have this cognizant bias, as he put it. Well, why do you guys not have that bias?
Because we try to stand as best as we can to the experts.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use their training and their experiential knowledge and what they've learned as guideposts so that we are aware of these same biases. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for humans to draw nigh and hold to a position and not be able to adjust. But my thing is, if the science comes in and says, that Egypt was black, I am wholeheartedly willing to accept that. Everyone's not willing to do that. That's a minority cusp.
Hmm.
And that could be based on our personal experience, our genetic and environment blending together, in which some of us have recognized that the best method today for progress is science. And so we'll just stand on that.
Hmm. But would you say though that from an evolutionary perspective, black people leaning more towards a black Egypt or pulling more for a black Egypt makes sense from an evolutionary perspective?
No, absolutely not.
Why?
Mainly because the concept of race really had nothing to do with evolution. And so that we're very clear that there's only one Homo sapien left on the planet Earth. And through environmental mechanisms and evolution, there are certain surface level phenotypes that have evolved. But in essence, we're all one animal class, and that's all we are left. It's the only Homo sapiens left. So, in all honesty, when we use black, we are using, in essence, a social political term that is relatively new in evolutionary history. It's relatively new. So, no, I wouldn't say that is. Now, what would be is things like the us and them, which in that evolutionary process, you can see how that point came to be, but that point in and of itself is not based on evolution.
Well, I think that's what I was getting at. The us and them. That's evolution, right? I mean, nobody says that. Nobody says that when we talk about Egypt, that
I'm gonna jump in. I can't. I'm not gonna do it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be rude now. But Sabio and
fine.
Gideon is on the panel. So would y'all like to, Sabio, then Gideon, and we can move the conversation forward?
Yeah, because
off of Black Egypt
this,
back onto the Brain Show.
yeah, because that's what I actually joined the show for, the Brain Show, and
Yeah. So
I'm
go ahead with the Brain
everybody.
Show.
I'm understanding I'm even starting to better understand Unksnim aspect of why they're saying that they're indigenous Africans. But you also have to understand the literature and the lack of literature. And all we have to go by from Egypt is the Medu Neter. And once you start understanding that, and then you start recognizing that it's other people coming into Egypt and observing Egypt from the outside, describing these people and telling you what these people are, the conversation will slow down. That's why the literature is vital. The literature is vital, and y'all will continue to make these mistakes.
Did you have anything to say?
And I'm not talking about them and everybody else. I'm putting this presentation together. It's not easy. It's a lot of shit that I have to show.
So do you have anything to say about the Brain Show?
Yeah, because if that's what we're talking about.
On that?
Yeah.
No, I said say something about the Brain Show. I'm deep.
Oh, my fault. My fault.
That's what I said when I let you speak.
I apologize. Well, first thing I want to add
right now.
The first
the
thing,
interactive Brain Show. I don't care what anybody else saying. Let's get on
the first. I apologize.
West Africa. If you want to talk about anything Africa, it's got to be West Africa. On my time.
All right, I apologize for that. So the first thing I want to know is have we made sure that the brain and the mind is one entity?
They're two separate entities in the same place. That's the consensus on that.
What do you mean?
The mind is
The brain and the mind are not
nu-
necessarily the same thing, but they happen in the same place. That's what I mean.
the mind is nothing but chemical processes, from what I'm aware of.
I-
When I read
I'm just telling you
psychology
what the
books,
literature says. This, like, I'm not making this up in my head. But if Marcus
I'm going for what the literature says
want to
also.
answer on that, or Kent, by all means, you asked the question. So
Okay, so
I need to know
Yeah,
what.
I'm about to grab something to eat, but look, the mind is abstract, Sabio. So it's just a way to explain it's the chemical the processes that happen in our brain is
thank you.
pretty much what they
Thank
describe
you.
the
I
mind.
agree. I totally, that's all I'm, thank you.
did
I
you hear what he
totally
said?
agree.
Yes. Did
The
you hear what he
mind
said?
is
But
abstract. The
wait,
mind is a way to
I
explain the
don't think.
chemical processes in the brain.
Okay, God, is everybody on 1,000? So I don't think you let him finish before you start saying thank you, cut him off, so the rest of the audience can hear what he was saying, because I think that was important. So can you repeat that, Ken, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I was saying that the mind is just an explanation of all of the things that's happening in our brain. It's not the brain, it's an abstract idea to explain the brain, or explain what we're experiencing in the brain.
The
If
chemical
that makes sense.
processes. The chemical processes, right?
hmm But I could be wrong. I mean, we can look into it and go further. But as far as I understand it, it's an abstract thing.
So all I'm trying to do is demystify the brain, take the spookiness away from the mind, and make sure we know that all this is chemical reactions that are taking process. So when we dream, it's
Yeah, you're not
chemical.
separate. You're not separate from the body. You're not. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's what
yeah,
you're trying to. Yeah.
yeah.
You're
It's
not
not
some
separate
kind. You're
from the
not.
body.
Yeah. You're not somewhere invisible. And when you die, your mind is going somewhere else, and not like that. No, you all you are is the brain. Everything that you
Bingo.
experience happens in the brain. Is that what you was trying to figure out?
We can have all the discussions we want to, because now when I talk about the mind, it's philosophy. I put it in the philosophical, because then you can bring in the spirit, the soul, and all those philosophical ideas that is attached to it. Now, if you want to go down that route, but I keep it on chemical processes strictly, because I recognize through my studying that that's what it is. I've read three. I went to psychology class. I've studied it intensely, and I couldn't find anything outside of those books telling me the mind was separate from the brain. Like, so it's all philosophy when you talk about it in that way.
Yeah. It's not a physical. Like the mind isn't a physical thing you can touch. It's just that. It's
Right,
explaining. You know what I'm saying?
right,
But you don't have a mind. You don't have those you don't have those things happening without a brain. You can't
right,
even explain a mind without the brain.
right,
But it's not nothing. No, it ain't nothing spooky though.
right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I've been really saying for a long time about that, because it's been a very difficult idea or conversation, because there's some attachment to the psyche or the soul due to the Greek word psyche being attached to it, and that word being attached to psychology. And people like to
Say that
make those.
again. I didn't quite get that. Say that again.
So it's been difficult to have these conversations because people will attempt to attach the word psyche to the word mind. And because the Greek word psyche was used to to create the field of psychology, they somehow equate that to the soul, and they make that some type of they somehow separate the mind from the soul, and it gets very convoluted when they bring up those when they
Well,
bring that
I
up.
mean, when they first started talking about
Yeah,
it,
you
at
know.
that time, they were talking about the soul. So
I understand that.
When Socrates made his whole allegory conversation about the sight of human and human will, he specifically was talking about a soul. But I understand your point in that science has now detached from that overall theme that had been predicated before, and have moved
Right.
beyond it. So I understand your point. I just want to add that point for clarification.
Yeah, I understood, and that that be the that be the difficulty in these conversations, because when we talk about the science, we have to understand that at that time they could only explain certain things off of what they was exposed to. So they weren't able to study these chemical processes and then put explanations to them.
I don't even know if they would be even if that's classified technically as science in and of itself. I think what we have is the rudimentary points that will develop in the science. If you can get my point, I think they did have. Well, we know that there's certain experiments that were done prior to them globally, not just in Greek philosophy. Uh, but I think the natural philosophy bred science, and then came a structure to it known as the scientific methodological naturalism versus philosophical naturalism.
Right. And that's where a lot of these ideas came from.
So
That
I want to,
philosophical.
after you finish, I would like to clarify my point on the brain and the mind, because I don't understand how you think we're disagreeing, but I think we need to make some things clear.
I don't
So
think we
Well, hold on. I got a good chat GPT I just looked up.
can I finish my point, please? Can I, please? So the mind and the brain are not the same. That's what I said. They are located in the same place. And when I said it earlier, I'm telling you by what we've read. That's what they're talking about. I'm not going to make it up. Um, so your brain has to do with the physicality. You know, it's going to process the information. It's going to control your body functions. Your mind, we are Mantu, but it seems like as if, you know, one of us is saying wrong, but your mind has to do with that psychological subjective experience, whether, you know, of the brain, you know, so everybody's mind is not exactly the same. And it's very subjective. Okay. But you can go ahead and read what you have. So that's why I was explaining, like, they're in the same place, yes. You can't have a mind without the brain, but they're technically not the same thing. And if you want to, you can boil it down to just chemical processes, but it has a little bit more to do with that. And we've discussed this in the show when we talked about how culture, our environment, and our own personal experiences can affect, you know, our mind, like they shape our mind. Everyone has a different, you know, a mind, so to speak, because of how your brain was developed. So that's along to get more clarity.
All right, everybody got different experiences.
Exactly. But go ahead, Kip. I know you had the chat GPT. That's what I did, but if you want to read it in its entirety or expound on that. I guess not. Gideon, I know you've been waiting for a long time. Did you want to say anything?
Man, y'all can hear me?
Oh no, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, damn, my bad.
Yeah, go ahead and finish.
You talking, Kent?
Yeah, can't hear me still.
We can hear you now, only but when you
I
said we
wonder
can't
what.
hear you.
Hold on. You can hear me now, right?
Yes.
I feel like I'm in a damn cell phone commercial or something.
I don't even know what's going on. You talking now, Kent? Because we can't hear you.
Yeah, man, my signal fucked up. But I could send it to you, Ju, if you want to read it.
All right, I'll do that for you.
All right. All right.
Gideon, you didn't have anything to add?
Earlier, I was listening to the show. I had to step away from the phone, but y'all were talking about this rat and some experience this
Rat.
guy had. I was really interested in so if you could just like reiterate that little part for me real quick.
Marcus.
Is he talking about baby Albert?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Fascinating study. It had to do with conditioning, right? So prior to that, they were able to condition animals to behave a certain ways at certain times for certain points based on certain external stimuli. And they wanted to see if they could train a person. I think it was Watson that did it. To be subjugated to the same conditioning that they did with animals, mainly dogs. And so what they would do is they would have baby Albert sit, and they would bring certain stuffed animals and toys around. And every time they brought about a rat, they would somebody would be behind them, and they would make a very loud, traumatizing sound. And it would trigger the natural responses in humans. And he was conditioned with that for the rest of his life. They ended up not going through the full study with him, but nevertheless, it's one of the earliest studies that explain human conditioning as a child and how it can affect you as an adult. They lost track of baby Albert after the experiment was done, and they were able to find out who they were later on, who he was later on, and he still had that same visceral effect whenever he seen rats. And his wife described some of the trauma and terror that he would experience based on that well into his later years. And so I will post that article again for you so you can read it. It's fascinating in that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating in that they have this example. Me personally, I'm glad they no longer do that with children. But it's one of those experiments. Sometimes I talk about they only do an experiment maybe one time because ethics get involved. The damage done to people based on that, is just too much. The Prisoner's Dilemma is one of them. The one they did, the Prisoner's thing in Stanford. They started it. They realized how terrible it was for people. They ended the experiment before it was done. So that's what happened. It has to do with I haven't actually talked about some of. So we did a show. Your brain is like an airport, right? The networks, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about some of these networks, but the ones they found out are very, very interesting. So Ron had brought up about the computer chip being implanted. They found out about this network. It's the sensory motor network through brain surgery. And what they found out is that when they were doing brain surgery in this section, when they were stimulated with electrodes, that people body movements would begin to move, right? And they felt as though they were controlling these movements, though they know that it was these electrodes that were placed in their brain during brain surgery. And when they do brain surgery, they tend not to put you fully under. There's reasons why, because they need to be able to monitor to make sure they don't cut away something.
Right.
So they need it to be active pumping brain.
Right.
And so they would put electrodes in there and realize that when they stimulated, this is during live surgery, that this sensory motory network, people arms and legs and bodies would start to move. The strange thing about it is they believed they were controlling these movements. And it ended up being tied to something called the cortical dopamine network, which we did discuss. So it's a lot of stuff in the brain that I can't wait to
divulge in.
Yeah, divulge a little bit more into. Hopefully people will go with the journey with me, but it's a fascinating thing. But that's how they came up with the technology, begin to do that for these electrodes that they're using now. Cool, that's part of the advancement. So, they did this early on, and now technology is now using that scientific information to build things that help human life as a whole.
All right. I appreciate that, Marcus.
Anytime, bro.
So I was going to read what Kent wanted to say about what is the mind. So if there's any confusion, maybe we can clear it up. But it says the mind is a complex aspect of consciousness that encompasses thoughts, perceptions, emotions, memories, and reasoning abilities. It's essentially the cognitive faculty of the brain that allows us to think, feel, and perceive the world around us. So that's the mind. And the brain is more the physical aspect of all that. The neurons, neurotransmitter, neuromodulators, different parts of the brain.
Can you read that again for the slow people in the chat?
The mind is a complex aspect of consciousness that encompasses thoughts, perceptions, emotions, memories, and reasoning abilities. It's essentially the cognitive faculty of the brain that allows us to think, feel, and perceive the world around us. Did you want to expound on that, Sabio?
I don't think I need to. This is what I've been saying for the longest. It's the cognitive faculties or the neurotransmitter, the synapses, and the chemical processes that is taking shape that is allowing us to do everything that we're doing right now.
Yes, but I think I will push back and say I disagree that they're the same thing. They're in the same place, yes, but they're not quite the same thing. That's where I was trying to reiterate, and that comes from the source materials we've been dealing with, understanding how the mind is shaped. You feel me? Because it has to do with people's personal experiences, and also the experiences that they are exposed to by other people around them, their particular environments, and also it got into more about their cultures. Like different cultures create different minds. That was a particular show. Yeah, and how people, I guess, would quantify their experiences, and feelings and things like that. So. Did you want to speak more on that, Marcus? I think that was like chapter 6 or chapter 7 when we were talking about those tribes. Yeah, go ahead.
So, it really comes down to something called qualia, right? Qualia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the issue is in at least the conversation is in science. Some of the questions are being asked. And that is, why is an apple sweet to you and not to me? They would like to sum it up and say that it's solely based on neurological networks and things, but there then comes the problem of emerging property. which is that you could have fundamental laws at the base level, but these laws in operation together can create something uniquely different than what the laws imply. Traffic is like that, right? So you can't have traffic without people, cars, stop signs, roads, and so forth and so on in motion. The laws of those motions, the thing that make a car go, does not directly tie to what traffic is. But when all these things are in operating at the same time, you have traffic. And so that becomes part of the conversation, right? There's some dispute about whether it is universal or, well, that's not true. That's really theoretical. If it's emerging property or not, and can it be reduced, right? That's where the conversation is now. But ultimately, you could have, I can give you an example. If you look at an ant colony, the laws that rule an ant colony are pretty basic. But when you have a certain amount of them, you get this congruent, beautiful interaction, and they're able to do things that fundamentally don't seem possible based on those limited laws. And you can look that up on YouTube. They got tons of videos about the emerging property of an ant colony. And so that's the conversation with the brain and the mind, which is, interesting. I can't wait to see some papers come down and describing that outside of the theoretical points at this time.
So Marcus, I have a question. Is or I should say, are our minds different than our awareness, or are they the same?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Are our minds, the fact that I have a mind, is it separate than the fact that I am aware, or are they the same? In other words, is awareness the same as mind?
Oh, nah, I don't. I wouldn't say that way. I think that kind of minimizes the complexity of the conversation. You can have, I don't know how to say this. You can have biological processes that take place that you are completely unaware of,
right,
through a conscious mind, but your subconscious mind definitely is fully comprehending what's going on. So it depends on where you draw the line between them two. There's no clear demarcation line, but there are plenty of studies that that exemplify this process. One of the key words you want to look at is something called priming. So if you look at some of the studies involving priming, you can kind of see where that demarcation line gets kind of blurry.
Can you define priming for the audience, Marcus? If not, I will in a second.
Yeah, you can pull up the thing for priming in neurology, Juju, if you can. Give me a second. So that's one study you can look at. Then there's a fascinating study that they did involving pheromones. They don't call it pheromones now.
What they call them?
They call them chemical tactic responses. There's a reason why they moved away just from pheromones.
I can understand that.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Real quick, let me plug this real quick. Hit the thing, Juju. My fault. All right, man. So y'all see what it is, man. The Great Assault Tep, man. All right. We're gonna be engaged in a serious debate. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Bari and Mr. I Am Hotep, man. It's a Sumerian, a Bantu language, man. That's gonna be on Garfield Channel Sunday, March 17th, 2024, man. 2:00. That's gonna be serious right there.
Yeah, make sure y'all support Garfield. I think
Mhm.
this is gonna be a hot debate.
No,
Definitely.
I don't think it's gonna be. We're gonna figure out what the real is. We're gonna find out. Maybe we don't even have enough, expertise to understand, right? What how the conversation gonna be, yo. But watch, yo. It's gonna be interesting, yo. That's gonna be real interesting right there, yo. At this point, I'm pretty sure that Asar gonna meet his match, yo. Shorty ain't playing right there, yo. No, he ain't playing, yo. I'm telling you, he ain't playing. All that stuff that Asar can get away with us, yo, he ain't ready to do it.
Man, I'm Team Osar for this one. What you talking about?
I know you is. I'm team right information. Did y'all ever, man, make sure y'all support that though. Did y'all ever ask what he was asking some good questions though, as far as how do we get around it? How do we get around our bias, yo? I like that. Yeah, you use the data, yo. The data help you get around your bias. I think that's a key point there. That's the only way you can get around your bias is the data, because a lot of things are counterintuitive.
Yeah, but people reject the data, so
yeah. So if you reject the data, yeah.
I mean, and that's where we at with it. So I mean, you're tired of beating a dead horse. You feel me?
Yeah. You can't defeat your bias if you don't if you reject the data, because you know what I'm saying, you can look at the person and he's looking jet black and all that, and you think he's such and such. You think he African, he be from the Idaho Island, Eastern European. You done. The data would take care of that though. So yeah, scientific literacy, yo.
Facts.
That's the only way to get around.
Isn't an argument valid on the other side as well?
No.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Okay.
Can we not?
Okay, we're not.
So I'm gonna get into.
On what other side though, Juju? What are you talking about on the other side?
I just asked a question.
The Egypt conversation. Can we please get on Prime?
No, you always come on, Juju. You gotta let it flow. No matter what, you gotta let it flow, though, Juju. That you'll fuck it up if you don't. You gotta let it flow. What you mean the other side? There is no other side. You get that, Juju?
No, I mean,
ain't no other side.
I don't. I mean, I understand Juju's point, but just real quick. So when the other guys show data,
they haven't,
and information from the meta as an example.
They haven't.
Well, let me finish. As an example, when they show that information, and then you would say, "Oh, that's not."
I wouldn't say that. I'm not saying that. The experts are saying that.
But that's how they. I know, but that's how they take it.
I know, but they can take it like they want to take it. The experts are saying it. It's not me. They going against the expert material, bro. People that already did what they did.
But they didn't write the MetaNetter. They're saying they're using expert material.
Listen, yo.
They didn't write the MetaNetter.
Listen, yo. Ain't you an engineer, yo?
Yes.
Do you question the mathematical formulas you use that's been working? Do you question that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just proved the point, yo.
No, but
you get it.
No, but I'm saying the people who develop those mathematical formulas, I say, okay, you're the experts.
They're the experts, right?
I know, but what I'm saying is they're saying the people who translate the MetaNetter are the experts.
Coming this motherfucker.
They're saying they're the experts too.
The voice of God.
That's funny as hell.
You understand what I'm saying? They're saying they're using experts. They use Christopher Ehret as an example. They use the MetaNetter. They
didn't use Christopher Ehret. No, they didn't use Christopher Ehret data right.
He
used Christopher Ehret data right.
Brother, that's
dude. I used Christopher Ehret. I got two books. This book one, the first one. I got the last one. I can clearly read, yo. They flaming, yo. They
I understand your point. I understand your point, but they
you probably don't, bro. But I can tell you what. I'm gonna move forward in the conversation, yo. But I expect more out of you, bro. I'm just let you know. Yeah. It's not the other side, yo. It's one side, and that side is science. Simple.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that they're making the exact same argument.
Amen to Judah. I'm gonna get out so I don't mess up the show. Clown.
I just wanted to just say this one thing.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I was talking to the dude in the chat. I just wanted to dive in.
Are you good? I just wanted to say this one thing. Without those mental processes, without those synapses, this whole shit we talking about the mind we wouldn't even be talking about it. So the brain would exist because dogs and cats and lions and bears, they all have brains. They also have mental processes just like we do. They just can't express them in words.
So yeah, one of the fundamental differences is that we have this how should I say, we have this dynamic of abstractness that animals don't necessarily have, or it hasn't necessarily been proven as such yet. So that's one of the main differences between a human's mind and any other animal. And I think that was something that was just discussed in one of the last shows. And yes, the abstractness has to deal with, given objects function. Like we give paper the function of money, like that's somewhat of an abstract. Like we give agency to things that other animals don't necessarily do. Not that they can't, but I don't think that it fits, their reality in essence. So but yeah, we always have the conversations about humans and whether we're exceptional beings. That has come up, in this particular discussion. How do you feel about that? How does the audience feel about that? Are humans exceptional animals compared to other animals?
Nope.
So
How are we exceptional? How are we different? Because we can put abstract thought and we can manipulate our world a little better than they can. Had their evolutionary design or had their evolution called for, maybe they would be in the same situation we are. The evolution didn't call for it. So
I'm just gonna say I've been told you, Sabio, to be hitting the link on these brain shows because we went through all that, and I think you would be pleasantly surprised on what we actually said. Like, I mean, we on the most part we agree. We don't think that we're exceptional. It's usually others who have not delved into the science of this, who may think that. But once you understand the processing, the development, the function of the brain, and the evolutionary process of it, of all animals, then then you'll get
That part.
into
Yep.
yeah, we're not that exceptional.
Well,
We're
I mean,
not,
but
we're not superior.
definitionally, aren't human beings exceptional? By
If
definition.
if you were to say that, then all animals are exceptional in their own way.
Correct. I agree. Gideon.
Well, what? Give me an example of something that's exceptional about I don't know, any
A
animal.
dog can hear what you can't hear.
Hmm. But
That's
human beings
exceptional.
can make machines that can hear what dogs hear, though.
Yeah, but dogs do it naturally. They don't need
I
machines.
understand that. But human beings
So
can make a device that can do it, though.
right, but you asked a question, so let me try to answer also. So I think that's the other thing. So maybe I don't know enough, but do animals have culture? Because then, that's from what I'm getting, that's a part of our abstractness also. But we need it to function, right? By definition, by the one I learned in college, culture is any and everything man superimposed on nature for survival and well-being. So I think that our ability of culture may be
Does it make us
they go
exceptional?
far past some things because we know birds that can take
Oh man, you took it out my mouth, Juju.
different things to create nests. So that would be a part of culture. We know that birds have an ability to have quote unquote language and a simple form. That would be part of culture.
No,
So I mean, it's a lot of things we would have to like really dissect to get down to it.
correct.
But the overall picture, again, it goes to Gideon. Like I think every animal has superiority or is exceptionalism, so to speak, right? Because like wells. They can go deep in the ocean. We can't do that without, having to.
Submarines.
And I'm talking about in our natural state. And I always say, so put a human and a lion in its naturalness in a space outside and see who wins. Would we be superior then? I'm saying, I'm just asking. But
Well, I mean, if you're asking me if a human being was in a cage with a lion, animal eat, animal on animal, then no, the human being is going to lose. But if you ask me that can human beings or have human beings basically subdued lions, the answer is yes. If we put lions in cages all the time, it's not the other way around.
And
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
due
You know
to
what I'm
what? Evolution. And that's due to evolution.
saying?
That
So we
still
are
don't mean
exceptional
you
then.
can't get
But
ate by a lion.
but
That
we are
still don't mean the
exceptional.
lion won't eat
Of
you if you
course,
go out in
of
the
course,
out
Ron,
in
we
that
are
savannah.
exceptional, but every animal is exceptional
That
in
lion
their
will
own
still
unique
eat
way.
you like you a piece of food.
The question is, are we more exceptional?
No.
But what's more
That
exceptional?
doesn't make any sense. I just told you. You said the dog can hear things that we can't hear, and I just said that we can make machines. We can make machines that can hear what dogs hear, but dogs can't make machines that go to Mars, but we can.
Right.
So that makes us exceptional, doesn't
And
it?
that's only due to evolution.
I don't understand you
That's
guys.
only due to evolution. Had the
Bro,
dog
one at a
evolved to
time.
think about, hold on, Gideon. Had the dog evolved to think about going to Mars, the dog would be
No, and that's the point.
making ships to be going to Mars. Yes. Had evolution
That's the point.
calls for the dog to evolve to that point. I don't know what you're missing.
No, I don't know what you're missing.
Ron, let me explain it like this, Ron. That's our exceptional way.
That's what I'm saying.
So I said every animal is exceptional in their own unique way. That's not hard to understand, my brother.
I think so, brother, because what you're talking about are physical attributes that different animals have.
What's the definition of exceptional?
Exceptional would be something that's extraordinary, that's out of the ordinary. That's how I would define it. How would you define it?
Exactly the same way. Extraordinary.
Then it sounds like you
So
agree with me.
so every animal has its own extraordinary thing. Everyone.
No, it's not extraordinary for a dog to be able to hear.
Oh my goodness.
Why is that extraordinary for a dog to be able to hear at a higher pitch than humans? That's
Because
what dogs
not
do.
all animals exhibit the same characteristics, bro.
That's obvious. But we're talking about
So
extraordinary.
you want to know
Being able to do something extraordinary.
I can't argue with
this conversation is weird.
It's not weird. It's just that you guys aren't
So we're
making
unique
sense.
because our frontal lobe developed further than theirs. That makes us
exactly what
unique.
Bobby Bang is saying.
That makes us unique.
I'm sorry, I missed your question. Say it again.
Frontal lobe development makes us unique.
Seems to be that way.
At this point, I'm not talking to you.
So why?
Because you still don't
I
get
don't
it.
Because
understand.
it goes back to something I said earlier in the conversation. Had the dog frontal lobe developed to the same point ours had, the dog will be just as unique as us, but you don't even get it.
No, the dog's frontal lobe is not developed to the same extent as ours, right?
Goes back to evolution. My conversation circles back to the first point I made. Damn, you slow.
I mean, saying that doesn't make it so. You don't have to get upset. That doesn't make it so. I'm just saying that it appears to me, it's evident to me that human beings are exceptional compared to other animals. I'm not saying we're not animals. Of course we're animals. We're just more exceptional. I mean, that doesn't seem obvious to you guys?
Let me ask you this: is unique and exceptional the same thing to you?
Unique and exceptional? No, it's not the same.
Okay, so what is the difference to you?
I mean, kind of getting back to the brother who talked about the dog. The dog is uniquely equipped to have high pitched hearing, whereas humans don't. But humans are particularly exceptional at creating things that can mimic the rest of the animal kingdom if they want to, and then even go beyond that, whereas other animals can't. And what I'm hearing is that it's just because of their brain development. They haven't evolved yet. Well, chances are they never will evolve to that.
Hey, Ron, you should go watch a thing called the Bird Brain. You'll be surprised
I think
how exceptional you are.
I think humans are unique animals. We're unique. It happened that our uniqueness is in the ability to use abstract thought and create. But I would not take that outside of the basics of evolutionary processes. This is what led us to survive. And our uniqueness is still limited to the very basis of evolution. A virus can kill us the same as, again, any other animal. We are subjugated to the same fundamental laws of physics that everything else is. Now, you may take that uniqueness to be exceptional. That's exceptional based on the fact that we are the only Homo sapiens left on the planet Earth, and that limits our ability to do a cross comparison in some areas with that uniqueness. But I look at it from a point of evolutionary scientists, and they're on the cusp of saying that while we are a unique and special type of animal, we are just another animal in the basis of the evolutionary process, and that process hasn't reached a apex, and that evolution doesn't have an apex.
That's
Yeah,
well put, Marcus.
I certainly understand that we are animals on this planet, just like other animals. But I don't think there are other animals who are having these types of conversations that we're having.
Again, you just took what would be unique, and changed it to the other thing. So what made us unique is just that it made us unique. But there's animals that can do quite a lot of things that are,
I'm sure there are,
unique to them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And are you willing to call them exceptional?
Well, I mean, when I look at other animals, if it's things that we cannot do, that we can't design some type of mechanism or equipment or machine to do, then I would say no, they're not exceptional in any way. But
you don't get the point that you have to create something to do that, though. They do that naturally.
That's part of our exceptionalism.
Yeah, but that's exceptional that they do it naturally. You don't.
Why do you say it's exceptional? Is a dog the only animal on the earth that can hear at a high pitch?
Are beavers creating dams? Is that exceptional?
Yeah, beavers create dams because that's what they do. That's sort of the same argument about
exceptional?
Having high pitch hearing.
Is that exceptional?
Are insects exceptional? The fact that they could live in the inner
beavers creating dams.
It's unique. It's unique for. It gets back to what are their capabilities, and can they go beyond those capabilities?
So again, So again, this
Can they build?
conversation
Can a
is
beaver
about
build a castle?
natural selection.
Can a beaver build a castle?
This goes back to what? Natural selection.
Okay.
Why are we still talking?
Every animal builds their
Just
own
because I don't understand
habitat.
your point.
Every animal builds their own habitat, bro.
Yeah. I mean, every animal, let's say, agreed. So I don't find that.
And it suits their evolutionary needs. No, what they can do is exceptional, naturally. Like birds can fly naturally. You got to make a plane.
But that's what's exceptional, though. The fact that I can make a plane.
What will happen to your plane though won't happen to that bird though.
What do you mean? Well,
What do you
won't happen to that bird?
Okay, your plane need that gas. That bird don't need that gas.
Yeah, but again, the fact that I can
Your
plane
can develop technical difficulties. That bird will not.
Yeah, but that bird might have a lifespan
but
of
nothing,
5 years,
bro.
Whereas my plane will last 20 years.
Oh man,
I don't understand. I don't understand your point.
A parrot damn near lives longer than a human being. You know that?
Okay.
But
we have planes that go back.
Do you find that exceptional? Hold on. Do you find that exceptional?
No, I don't find that exceptional. I have a plane. I can have planes that go back to 100 years ago, right? I mean,
That's wonderful.
I mean, I'm not denying that the different animals can do things that human beings can't do. I'm just saying that we can do what they can do and do more.
You're just a stop sign.
I'm just a what?
A stop sign.
I mean, you can say those things because
our frontal lobe not developed, we would be doing the same
saying anything of value.
are doing. Had our frontal lobe not developed, we would be doing the same shit animals are doing.
And I don't disagree with that. But we do have that highly developed frontal lobe.
Okay, so stop arguing in circles. Because if we agree that it's about frontal lobe development, then all this talking about animals is about their frontal lobe developments. It's all about evolution.
That's a nonsensical statement. That your frontal lobe development is the thing that makes you exceptional, makes you different.
You know, exceptional is just a human thing, though, right?
Yes, because we can think in those terms. Of course,
the lioness may think that the lion that's running her pride, she may think he's exceptional.
The lion may think she's exceptional.
We don't know because we can't hear what lions think.
That's right. That's right. But we know.
So this conversation to me is for special people who want to try to somehow deny evolution somehow.
I'm not denying evolution. I just told you. But I think when you run up against a brick wall, that's the only thing you can use is like that type of language.
You're the one up against the brick wall. This conversation
you are using exceptional to argue about animals, bro. And exceptional is just a human thing.
Right. All humans can't even read.
It just refers to something outstanding or extraordinary beyond the norm in terms of quality or performance, bro.
Bro, Ninja, that's a great point. All humans can't even read.
So when you're comparing animals, it just doesn't even make sense. Like Marcus just said, bro, uniqueness.
And name an animal that can read though.
Oh man,
you guys get frustrated because you make these non sequitur arguments.
Bro, you're a stop sign.
Yo, them dogs be doing. Y'all seen them dogs on the internet that got the little push button thing?
Give them some ammo. Give them some ammo, Juju.
Can I finish my point? Can I finish my point? Please don't do that. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about Black Egypt, but don't do that.
Thank you, Juju.
Yeah, so but anyway, I think it's kind of cute though, because we're talking about that. I mean, it's a form of understanding communication, which goes to language. So we're gonna talk about it in animals. But if you go on like TikTok, I know on Instagram, it's this one dog that I follow. It's two of them actually. It's one younger black dude and then like this white couple, but they have these buttons and they train their dogs so their dogs can express themselves. Right.
That's
So
dope.
the funniest one though is like one of the friends of the white couple came over or was at the or whatever or was doing some type of I forgot what it was, but they were talking to the dog and there was like, oh, whatever, Charlie. I think it was like the dog's birthday, happy birthday, and the dog went to the button. It was like, bitch.
You
No.
right?
Like I fell out,
I
but
remember that. I remember that. I
that
remember
wasn't the
seeing
same
that.
reaction to everybody. Like, whoever it was, the dog was like friend or whatever. But for this particular person, the dog was like, And then the dog like sat there with like the resting bitch face, like looking like, oh hell nah. But it was just hilarious. But I find that fascinating because we're talking about, animals and them being able to talk, communicate. But
And
then
having personalities.
right, but then we have to say like, but to our standard, because animals have the ability to communicate. They just might not be doing it with verbal speech and written language like humans. But that doesn't make it any less, though. So that's all I had to add to it. But yeah, I want a dog, and I want them dog buttons for real. I'm gonna be training my dog to say, "Okay, my dog gonna be saying, hell nah,
I
nigga."
remember seeing that video.
I'm sorry, that was funny. Okay.
And yeah, them huskies be funny too as hell too. But
It was a husky. It was a husky.
see,
Yeah, boy. So yeah.
but yeah, Ron, exceptional it's really a human thing. It's often used to describe people, achievements, experiences, or qualities that stand out positively. That's human thing, bro. It's nothing to do with other animals, bro. So
Yeah,
so
I understand.
so we talking about uniqueness. Yeah, that's a unique thing that we can do. Yes, and other animals have their unique things that they can do. Like
That's clear. That's
you
clear.
you ain't finna live under the earth like an insect, bro. You can't do that. That's unique. You feel me? The
Yeah,
scientists
I
are
hear
saying
you.
that a roach can withstand a freaking nuclear bomb. You can't. That's unique. Like there's certain things that's just unique, bro. And there's certain things, if you want to talk about exceptional, that they're exceptional in their own unique way. Like that's not hard to understand. I said it, bro.
Sounds like a bit of semantics going on, though.
All right, bro. You want to say semantics? You playing semantics now because you still gonna argue.
No, I'm not arguing anymore. I think I've given a clear explanation of the
And few people have
exceptionalism
given
of
you
human
clear
beings.
explanations, and you still arguing.
Yeah, but the problem is that there's really no difference between unique and exceptional technically when you look at it from synonyms. So if you say that this animal is unique, you're also saying they're exceptional.
Thank you.
That's actually the word. So it's not us playing semantics, it's you. You made a dividing line that doesn't exist.
So I made a dividing line
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, between
Yeah.
uniqueness and
Yeah.
exceptionalism.
Exceptionalism,
Yeah,
yes.
because they're synonyms.
hmm
So when you say that this animal is unique but it's not exceptional, no, that's you're creating a line that language doesn't exist.
But all
But
animals,
I understand.
all animals are unique. All
So
animals
then
are
they're
unique.
exceptional.
No, by the definition that we were talking about, they're not exceptional. They're just unique.
All right, bro.
Okay, Ron. But again, humans are animals, but nevertheless, uniqueness and exceptional are synonyms, Ron. So I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, you can argue with the English language. What you want me to say?
No, I don't want to argue with the English language. I'm saying that we can do things that they can't do, but we can do, but they do things that we can mimic through our abilities, through our
Some things, and again, it doesn't. you're equating the benefit of us having this thing as being somehow or another different than the benefit of them having what they have. But uniqueness and exceptional mean the same thing. So as soon as you say that there's an animal who has a uniqueness, then you're saying the animal is exceptional. Humans are included in those animals that have uniqueness. That's all.
So we're talking about degrees of uniqueness then, right?
I'm not willing to make that degree. That's beyond my expertise, or whatever you want to call it. I let the experts make that call. But Lisa Barrett and them saying that no, yes, humans are unique, but they're just another type of unique animal. That's what she's saying. Now, whether you agree with her or not, that's on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that our uniqueness as human beings is on a higher order than the uniqueness. We want to use that word of animals, but that's me.
Well, that's called human exceptionalism, and there's a lot of pushback against that because it led to some very dangerous concepts. So you can look up human exceptionalism and look at what happened when humans thought they were the center of the earth, when they had a heliocentric or a Earth-centric type of idea. That's not nothing new. I mean, it just is what it is. Most religions and or social, cultural, spiritual systems tend to center humans as the pinnacle of existence and creation. So that's not a new concept. That's actually a very antiquated idea. But, everyone has their own take to a degree on it. And again, the experts discuss these type of things. So it is what it is. But the key to that is that unique and exceptionalism is not different. So
I just want to say that this is the Interactive Brain Show. So the link is in the chat. Feel free to hit the link and join the panel. And
speak your speech.
Talk your talk. You know what I'm saying? Pop your, but it's the Interactive Brain Show. So go ahead and do that. But I don't care how anybody feels about it. The only rule that I have is that you cannot talk about Black Egypt. Talk about West Africa if you talk about anything Africa. And yeah, that's the rule, and I'm sticking to that.
So we are
mama.
In concept of some of the conversations we've been having. I am working on a African American history. So I'm going to attempt to go from early in West African history with the interactions between Europeans.
Yeah, buddy.
I even though there's some nuances to that dealing with Islam and there's some evidence that even during the early Byzantine Empire, they had gold from Ghana being milled and mined and weighed and structured in Ghana and then shipped up to North Africa into Europe. I don't want to really go that far back, but we are coming to a point where we will be discussing African American history, starting with the early points of Europeans in West Africa, and then coming up to this point to address some of the misconceptions that the pseudo killers have been hearing in some of these wild streets, YouTube streets and TikTok streets and Instagram streets. So I hope y'all get ready for that and just see what that's about. Hopefully y'all join us for that too. I think there's some other shows in the working too that I think many people may enjoy coming up. So just stay tuned. Make sure y'all subscribe, hit the button, the bell, so that y'all can get notified
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So yeah, I just wanted to say real quick. Yeah, we are having um some new shows coming up, of course, as we did for Black History Month, because we did have some shows on Black History. Y'all just chose to watch other stuff, especially our Galaxy and Beyond. Y'all should go ahead and check out the shows we did for Black History Month and learn about some Black scientists, Black and continental African scientists. That was our contribution, and we paid tribute to all of those past, present, and future, because I think Clarice Phelps would be kind of future. She ain't even got her PhD, and she's already making history. She's actually a young Black woman who found an element on the periodic chart. So go figure. But we do have some stuff coming up for Women's History Month. We already had one Women's History show. We did a tribute to Deborah Hurd, a PhD candidate, and also one of the founding members of the William Leo Hansberry Society, also part of the Nile Valley Collective. So we did pay tribute. We paid tribute to women in expertise is what that was. And we'll be doing a little more of that coming soon. But I do look forward to Marcus's show. I'm excited to, be a part of that. Of course, got to be a part of that when it comes to African American history and how we got here, and how it started. Because I think Marcus, what is it? The idea is that, it was kind of like a linear thing, like it's just from point A to point B. And that's not how it was, right? Because you had Europeans and the continent of Africa long before the slave trade started. Like they had some stuff going on within the continent. We got to talk about, well, you'll hear it on other platforms, but, about was a, let me not mess up the word, but the Bozales and the Ladinos or whatever, the savage African and the Christianized, African. And some of those implications we'll get in the Iberian Peninsula connection, because yeah, I think when we're talking about, you know, the slave trade, we skip those steps, and those steps are the beginnings of the beginning. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But yeah, we're gonna do this for a few more minutes, maybe like 20 more minutes, maybe 15. So if anyone wants to hit that link and go ahead and pop your, we want to hear what you're talking about, what you thought about some of the content that we've had besides that conversation that I've banned. But no, we want to hear about it because we've been dealing with the brain show and we've been having the show on our Galaxy and Beyond. So tell us what you like to see also. Tell us what content we create that has to do with scientific literacy. Yeah, we're all for that.
I'm going to go ahead and jump off, guys, but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity again to be up on your platform. So thank you, Juju, Marcus.
As always, and we appreciate your
and
discourse.
I think this was an exceptional show, pun intended.
Get them out. That was good. That was a good one. You're funny. I love it. Pun intended.
See?
Yeah, boy. That's cute.
Yeah. So
it's funny. The show can be exceptional, but not the other animals. That's
don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm gonna do it, Juju. You know me.
Go ahead, Marcus.
So before we get out of here, I want to bring in some very interesting points. So if y'all remember the brain show, we did something about the dopamine network, and we talked about how there's 4 or 5 different, well, it's 4 right now.
A dopamine highway.
Yeah, and how that plays a part. I think we touched on it, and we can look at it from multiple facets of conversation. When we talked I brought up about the sensory motor cortex and the cortical pathway. That cortical pathway is part of that dopamine pathway. It still has to do with that stinging dopamine. But there's a therapy that's out now that has to do with dopamine as well. And it has to do with there's prediction models in the brain, networks that have to do with prediction, and then there's another set that we call error management theory. Error management theory. We did an interview
Good
with Dr.
one.
Yeah, we
Go
did an
ahead.
interview with Dr.
Andy Thompson, ladies and gentlemen.
Dr. Andy Thompson, correct.
Check out that interview.
Yeah, make sure y'all watch the interview. And in there, he briefly touched on the error the error management system. So we live in I don't know how to say it well. It's known in the avenue of invention and industry. We could, an example would be this. We could build cars that are as sturdy as a tank, but the consequences of that would be the expense, right? And so then we use a practice that they found through evolutionary psychology and sociology, that you would err on the side of caution, which is you would build cars that are safe enough in range of survival, but still affordable for mass production. Another example is, and I want to say this to the ladies, it's not a justification of the behavior, but it is an acknowledgement that this is part of this error management theory. And that is men tend to look at women, natural interactions, more sexualized than necessary. And it seems like that would be what would evolution have to do with that? But if you think about it, we're talking about reproduction, right? So in the error management theory, if 1 out of 4 girls, it's better to hit the one, take that one opportunity, even if I had to go through 4 women to get to it. If y'all can understand. So you had a bar, a girl looks your way, you see her smile, and you would overinterpret that smile as she may be interested in me, right? And there's a whole statistic analysis about why this is going on in men. And it has to do with the chance of reproduction, right? So you would err on the side of caution, which is saying she may be interested in me, better for me to approach and see and take the rejection than if she was and she wasn't. Another example of the error management theory is if you're walking in the ground, we use this all the time, and you see a snake, you jump first. You see a stick, you would jump first and then confirm if it was a snake or not. Again, error management. Better to err on the side of caution that it is a snake and get away than that the error in the side that it's a stick. Well, you understand what I'm saying. Better to err in the side that the stick is a snake than if the snake is a stick. Because if it is a snake and you didn't jump, you die. So that's error management theory. But now they're using it as psychotherapy to help errors in prediction. So these two things get combined together, error management theory and the prediction model, to help with people with either mental illnesses, and they are actually starting to use it for addiction.
Can I slow you down a little bit, though?
Sure, go ahead.
When you talked about error management and talked about that example with the stick, but that goes back to evolutionary processes, which I think is important to state. And the brain's predictive ability for the whole reason of survival, right? That's the whole purpose. So yeah, and I just feel like once we're learning this, we're also seeing a whole bunch of things that was for our evolutionary development or survival or whatnot are now kind of being counterproductive. But I just kind of want to thought that in because we don't necessarily need that for survival. You feel me? Because we've built things in our culture to fortify against those things that deemed not advantageous to our safety or well-being or our life, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because that's another thing, right? Because you talk about something like ADHD, right, which is heavily it may be overly diagnosed, but there's some evidence that suggests that in the Rift Valley, when you had to you needed that spur of energy to constantly be moving as a survival trait, right? That helped you survive these wild changes in environment. Is a prime example. Another thing, the dopamine receptors, because we talked about that, how it creates cravings for fats and sugars.
Correct. Another
Right?
evolutionary process.
Another evolutionary process. Now you have advertisement and businesses that use that craving to produce unhealthy habits by adding fats and sugars. McDonald's got sued for added fats and sugar to French fries.
Them McDonald's French fries be busting though. Why?
They do. They'll get you every time.
They get you every time. That's all I want is some fries and a milkshake, so you can dip the fries in.
So you know, and knowing these things can help your brain predict a little better. So in science, right, we can do generalities, and then these generalities get analyzed for causes. So in a new series we're going to do about depth of expertise, he brings this point up, and he uses this in this way. On average, Asians are shorter than Americans. That does not mean that there aren't exceptions to that. You may have some Yao Mings out there who are not tall. But overall, generally, that's the thing. Then you look at some of the differences in genetic coding, environment, diet to see what could cause that. That's how, in general, science works in trying to analyze data. Well, a lot of times they find things by accident, right? And some of these early experiments revealed some very troubling things about people. I gave y'all example, baby Albert, but believe me when I tell you, there are a lot more out there. They had one where they had a child raised with a chimp. Did not go well. That did not go over well.
Marcus, what about some of the stories we hear about children being raised with different animals? Maybe not on purpose for the sake of experiments, but like, is there any validity to that? Do they have any, like, documentation of those instances, or is that all just what they call what they call them? It's just fantasy, right? It's just urban myth, urban legend.
I haven't seen anything done or any evidence to that.
Okay.
They do have things like tribes that coexist somewhat with animals.
Right.
Like there's some examples where I think it's like a bird or some type of, I think it's a bird who shows humans where a certain type of honey is.
I know that's right.
And they share it, right?
The toucan.
I think that's in Southeast and Central Africa where that happens along the savannah area. Nevertheless, so you have things like that. But I haven't came across any specifics where a child was found by
living with a pack of wolves. You know what I'm saying? Because we done heard and seen the movies and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
A real life Tarzan. I think those are like
have examples of, especially in Asia, I guess parts of Africa too, where small primates are kind of like raised together with children, similar with dogs, but nothing. I haven't seen anything. Maybe Susso, no.
Okay. Well, I just want to really give a shout out to the chat. especially the last 10 minutes. They done had a whole discussion on whether who would win, a lion and an elephant. That was an awesome discussion. I'm team elephant, but you
You
know.
know Ellie got it.
Nah,
Yeah,
the
man.
the
One on one,
hippopotamus.
mano a
Oh
mano.
no, what we don't move the goalposts. We said lions and elephants. I mean the
Nah,
hippopotamus. Nah, the hippopotamus don't play. We seen a hippopotamus though. Wreck an alligator trying to eat one of the baby hippos. Yeah, boy.
Yeah,
But
them
I
hippos
but
don't
yeah,
play
them
neither.
hippopotamus ain't no joke either. But a hippopotamus and the lion. So you think a hippo? A hippopotamus and an elephant. So you think the hippo got the elephant? Oh,
oh yeah,
snap.
they the most dangerous.
Well, I
They the
know
most
they
Yeah,
dangerous.
dangerous,
them hippos, man.
Yeah,
boy.
they the
Yeah,
most.
boy, yeah.
Yeah, they the most dangerous in Africa. In Africa right now, like they no joke. I wouldn't want to cross them. I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
want to fool
either.
them.
Yeah, boy. We seen them
Yeah.
charging boats and stuff. Like, cause I watch all these like nature uh shows and channels, you know. Them safaris, boy, them safari people, they getting real comfortable. I think that's a little too much comfort for me. I don't think I'm taking no safari when I go there. I'll pass on that.
Man, I done
They're
seen the
getting too up
video. The
close and
damn, the
personal.
damn,
No,
damn
put me in a
lioness
cage.
jump up inside the damn
Yeah,
truck.
you see that lion
I'm
doing
like,
that.
what the
Nah,
hell?
boy.
It's like,
Nah,
hey Jenny, I see you, Bill. I'm coming, Bill.
I,
I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah, that's wild. Maybe we can get on that one day, but yeah,
Oh,
that's
man,
pretty
it was
dope.
funny.
Team Elephant, and Hippo as an honorable mention.
Got
But
it.
you know, we almost at the 3 hour mark, and you know, we don't want to run a marathon. And yeah, so I was gonna allow you all to have some final words, and we'll be back next Sunday for another exciting um interactive conversation on the brain, unless we start a depth of expertise, which I really want to get into.
Yeah, I need to get reading.
Go ahead, Gideon. Let me.
Primary source don't even know what a primary source is, or a secondary or tertiary. You cute though. You wasted you wasted your whole body budget to do that. That's funny. Oh, isn't that cute? I just had to. These people be wilding, boy. It's real funny.
Yeah, everybody, just stay tuned to the pseudo killers. We got the real information. You already know. PK on deck.
So, I've hunted down for a perfect. Oh man, I forgot to get that Ralph Ellison quote.
Oh, you talking about the? Go ahead, read it off.
I gotta pull it up.
You talking about the truth about truth and lies?
Yeah, I put that in. That's not Ralph Ellison. They don't even know where that. They don't even know where that quote actually came from.
Go ahead and read that one though. We like that one too. But I'll wait.
First, let me read the Ralph Ellison quote.
Do your thing.
So he says, and this is about America and just the position we in now. On the moral level, I propose we view the whole of American life as a drama enacted on the body of a Negro giant who, laying trust up like Gulliver, forms the stage and the scene upon which and within which the actions unfolds. That theory about Gulliver is a mythological story where a giant goes walking around certain areas and they end up tripping him up and tying him down to the ground, and kids would play on top of him. And he compares that giant being tripped up and held down where children would play on as America and treating Black African bodies in the development of America. And so in that quote, it is a sensitive subject to me about the position of Black America and the methods that we can use to better our overall position. And we will be discussing some of the mechanisms that led us to the place that we're in and some of the philosophical faults that came out of it, such as Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism,
get into it,
integration,
right?
The difference in some Black conservatives and socialism and communism. These are really late developments, but they have essence early on. And so we hope that we'll be able to tackle that subject thoroughly so that people can get a good understanding of African history, Black American history, and even history of the diaspora as a whole, because there's so much interaction between the Caribbean, Europe, America as both North and South and Central America, the two continents and the islands around them, that I think we should talk about. Nevertheless, let me leave y'all with my quote. The truth has no defense against a fool determined to believe a lie. Shout out to the Pseudo Killers. I think we had a wonderful show.
And with that, we out of here, y'all.